So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Insights into Careers in Screen Industries with Escape Studios and Pathway CTM. Now, obviously, we are Pathway CTM. We are hosting a session. It is being recorded today. I'm quite excited for today's session because this is an industry that I don't know much about in terms of the type of things that go on. It's always fascinated me. I'd love to be a TV presenter or a TV host, but I think I'm a little bit late in life for that, so this will have to do. But look, it's an exciting day because we've got lots of information coming our way, lots of interactions and some really exciting stuff. Obviously, I've had a sneak peek of the slides, so I can see the exciting stuff that's coming up ahead. And it's not just me today. As everybody knows, that with today, you can communicate via the chat box or you can raise your hand, but mainly through the chat box, we'll be doing everything that we do. And we will be going into breakout rooms at certain points of today. My job of today as the host and head of student success is to make sure that the session runs well, to make sure that your questions are being answered and to help everything run smoothly and welcome all of our guests. So I'm not the main event. As we said, we are having an insight into careers in the screen industries with Escape Studios. The session is being recorded. So if you think that this is a great session or you want to show your parents or you want to watch it back or you want to show your friends or you think your friends need to watch it, it will go up on the website next week, okay, which is going to be a really useful resource, like all of our sessions go up on the website afterwards in their timestamp. Now, the head of student success bit is that we may be introducing you to something that you had an interest in or a fascination about, or you have an inkling or an idea that you might want to go in that direction. And therefore, you need more information. And after today, the support doesn't end. My student success role means that we help you with the next bit. Do you want to apply? Do you want to find an opportunity in this industry? Do you want to find out more from Escape Studios? Okay. And that's where my student support comes in. Every Wednesday, 4:30 till 5:30, unless I'm on holiday, and it will be announced on the website if I am, we run a drop-in session. It's for students to come along and ask any question you like. No agenda, but we give you our support. Okay, so that's there. Let's have a look at the agenda for today before I introduce the main event. So, yeah, we've got the introduction today. That's me rambling on now. 10:10 till 10:50, we have got an introduction to Escape Studios in the screen industries. Apologies, that should say 11 o'clock, not 10:50. We've got an introduction to Escape Studios and screen industries, and this is the quite exciting bit. And again, I'm going to be learning lots, so you will as well. We have a little 10-minute break, and then we'll be back. We're going to see how to excel as an entry-level creative, and we've got a speed meet. So what we're going to do, we're going to meet 3 people in that session. They're going to present to us, and then we're going to break out into breakout rooms because it makes it more manageable and nicer and easier. When we go out into the breakout rooms, then you can ask questions. That's the whole point of it, and get more information. So use the chat box, come off, turn your microphone on, ask those questions. Let's get involved. Then we've got lunch till 1 o'clock. Then after that, we're doing the same again, different roles within VFX and games. And we're going to do a speed meet. So same thing again, we're meeting 2 people and then we go out into the breakout rooms. You'll get rotated as participants. You don't need to worry. We do everything for you. Then later in the day, we'll finish up all of the Q&A panel if you've not had your questions answered through the day. But I like to have questions as we go along. Don't wait till the end of the day because you'll forget and you'll have missed that point. And maybe Saint won't be back for later in the day because he might be in another meeting. So let's get those questions in now. You know, let's get them as we go along. We're here for that and we can manage it. And then we have a quick wrap up and reflections. Now, if Zoom works nicely for us, I do have somebody in the background helping me, and that person is Neve. And Neve and I have just started working together, which is quite exciting for me. Maybe Neve, I can see you on camera. Maybe just give us a little introduction about yourself, please, and what you're doing this week, which is quite exciting.
Hi, yeah. So I'm Neve, and I'm a marketing exec at Pathway CTM. So you may have seen me on some of the social media and things like that. Yeah.
What are you doing this week?
I'm graduating this week. So I have a degree in journalism, which I completed last year. But...
Fantastic. So that's brilliant news. So Neve's going to go up and do a graduation ceremony, which she's very excited about, and I'm excited for her. So, but Neve is going to help launch the polls because I cannot see them, but Neve can. So Neve, can you launch the polls, please, and just take us through the questions quickly and everybody answer them. We got 3 questions, and there is a quirky one at the end. So let's get them up on the screen, Neve.
Okay, cool. So I've launched them, so you should be able to see them. Shout if you can't. But the first question is about how much do you know about careers in the screen industries? So you've got a few options. You've got pretty much nothing. I know a little bit. I know quite a bit. I'm an expert. The second question is about what route are you planning to take after leaving school or college? So you've got degree via university, degree via apprenticeship, apprenticeship after GCSE, gap year, or you don't know. And then the final question, which is a bit of fun, which of the following superpowers would you choose to have? So teleportation, mind reading, telekinesis, the ability to control time, invisibility, or another one. And pop that one in the chat box if you're not sure. If you've got one, sorry.
We want you to answer those nice and quickly, so don't take too long. And then in about 30 seconds, once everyone's answered, Neve is going to share those results and tell us what percentage is on each answer, and let's see what's most popular. Remember, it's okay if you don't know a lot, because that's the whole point of today. How are we looking, Neve?
Looking good. I give you 10 more seconds to get your final answers in. Cool. So I'll start reading them out. So how much do you know about careers in the screen industries? So the top answer, with 58% of you, said you know a little bit, but you really want to know more, which is great. It's great that you're here for that. And then the rest of you, about 41% of you, said pretty much nothing, but that is absolutely fine because you're going to learn so much today, which is great. And then we've got 3% of you that you know quite a bit, which is good. Hopefully we'll tell you something new. And then the second question, what route are you planning to take after leaving school/college? So the top answer is 59% of you want to do a degree via university, which is great. And then 8% want to do a degree via an apprenticeship. 5% of you want to do a gap year, which I'm sure will be very fun. And then 28% of you are not too sure, which is absolutely fine. You've got plenty of time to make up your mind. So superpower wise, wow, we've got a real mixture. So 31% of you want to be able to teleport. 10% want to mind read. 21% want to be able to do telekinesis. And then 28% want to be able to control time. 3% want to be invisible. I think I'd choose to be invisible. And then 8% of you said other. So yeah, if you said other, pop it in the chat box. But would you be interested to know what they are?
We would love to know that. Thank you for that, Neve. So you said you choose to be. Did you say you choose to be invisible?
Yeah.
I would definitely not choose mind reading, because going into sessions like this, I'd be able to read what people are thinking about me, and that would make me even more nervous about presenting than I already get. So yes, interesting. Telekinesis is about being able to move objects just by thinking about it. So that's good to know. And also to know about that you don't know too much about screen industries. That's why you're here, and you're going to learn a lot. And actually, the first person we're going to meet, so I'm going to hand over control and relinquish for the next hour, which is brilliant, but I'll be keeping an eye on the chat box, and if you have got questions you want to put directly to me because you don't want to put it in front of everyone, send it and we'll work through it. But if you've got questions, put them in the chat box as we go along. So Neve, thank you very much for doing the polls for us. Really appreciate that. Thank you for that. And I'm going to hand over to Saint and say, welcome, good morning, Saint, to today's session. And you're from Escape Studios. You are going to take over, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen. But it's great to have you on. And as you can see there, we've got some work to do to educate people about careers in the screen industry. So we're in the right place. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And my superpower would be to create PowerPoint presentations with just my mind. So I'm a long way off that, but I'm just going to share my screen. Thank you very much for that introduction, Neve and Max.
Not a problem.
So, thank you, everybody, for coming here on what is quite a hot day where I am. I hope you're not sweltering too much already, but let's get on with it. So you should be able to see my slides right now. And this is me. I'm St. John Walker. My fancy name is Director of Industry Engagement, but let's not worry about that too much. And I'm going to give you a little introduction of the screen industries from an Escape Studios point of view. So let's kick off, and I've got loads of slides and we won't get through them all, but we'll do what we can, right? So first of all, when you think about the screen, you probably think about your normal telly screen, don't you? And think about how that's changed probably in your lifetime. Back in my lifetime, there used to be just 4 channels or 3 channels even. And now you can get most things through smart TVs. And again, back in my time, TVs were a different shape even. They were much more stocky. They were what was called 4:3. Now they're 16:9. That's the proportion. So they're widescreen these days. But if we think about what screen means, I mean, probably the best experience you can have of a screen is probably still the cinema, just because of the sense of spectacle, the size, all the lovely detail, all the amazing things that happen, partly to do with VFX, but partly to do with how they shoot stuff these days. So you're probably thinking about that. But also, remember, screen industries also includes the laptop. Screens are absolutely everywhere. And of course, nowadays we consume far more through our own phones than we do from maybe the standard television screen. But think also about screens being everywhere. If you go to a petrol station or you go to a railway station, you probably have to interact with a screen, and somebody has to design those screens and make it so it's really clear what you have to do. So even the most simple screen has had some kind of designer working on it, so that you don't have to pull out a manual to understand how to get a ticket. It's just laid out for you, and it's pretty clear and it's pretty simple. Likewise, a lot of apps, especially the sort of augmented reality apps like this, you don't have to read up about how they work. It's natural, right? We're all very used to it. And somebody has to design those. Somebody has to be inventive and creative and make them work really what's called frictionless. In other words, you don't have to study to or get a degree to operate a simple app. So screens are absolutely everywhere. And just so you know, we have small screens, our mobile phones, and somebody has to design those. But we also have big screens. And this is a class we had the other day at a TV studio. And you can see how big the screen is there. And that guy at the front, he's just showing a PowerPoint like me, but he's got that huge screen to show it on. So not only are screens getting smaller, but they're also getting bigger. And in fact, in the world of film, screens are becoming the backgrounds of famous films. This is The Mandalorian, for instance. And what you're seeing there, and if you look at The Mandalorian, most of it, the background is projected on a screen. But when you watch a TV series like that, you don't even know there's a screen in the background, because you just think he's out on the planet or wherever he is. And likewise with a lot of films these days, they're shot on huge screens. Screens are changing also, the technology, and you folks, most of you I'm imagining, are quite young, and within the space of 5 years things can change dramatically. So by the time you've decided to go on an apprenticeship or to go to university, then you come out the other end, there'll be jobs that are very different from how they are today, and you'll be working with technologies that we're only now sort of seeing come out of laboratories. And here's Samsung are working on a TV which is almost like holographic, so you can see through it, but at the same time you can see your programs on it. So that's a technology that maybe you'll be involved with working on if you decide to go in the screen industries. But of course, we can't let go without talking about VR, virtual reality, or augmented reality. And with VR, the screen is right next to your eyes. It's usually some glasses that you wear, and they're still screens. So that's still the screen industry. So you may work on VR projects for people to watch through various devices and glasses. Here's a sort of a mock-up really of what's already happening. People with glasses are co-creating. So here you have, and this is a sort of a promo picture, but you get the idea. Here you can reorder even city centres. Maybe these are town planners who are deciding on how a city should look in the future. This is a screen industry as well. The screen is everywhere. So they're able to manipulate objects in 3D in front, what seems to be in front of them, and make decisions. So even boring old town planners and people who work at the council will be able to use screens in the future to redesign cities. And that's pretty cool. Here's an example of more entertainment. Now, this poor family here, I believe it's in China, they're in a shopping center, and they're looking at themselves on a screen. And on that screen, it shows they're on an iceberg in the middle of nowhere, and looks like those two hungry whales are kind of approaching them. So what they're seeing on the screen is for entertainment, but it's a 3D scene of, and I think there's also polar bears that come over, etc., etc. So sort of those kind of interactive 3D screens are used for entertainment now. And the kind of future of the screen industries will be more and more about interactive, real-time entertainment on a screen. So that may be the future that you'll be going into. So a lot of what I say now in 6-10 years may be slightly out of date because things move on. Now, I'm just going to introduce this little fella. You no doubt know him well, Mr. COVID. Yes. So over the last 2-3 years, we've had a bit of a strange time, haven't we? And that's because most of us have been sort of staying in a bit more than we probably wanted to. But that's been a really interesting time because whilst we were staying in, we were watching more and more stuff on our TVs. We were playing more and more stuff on games consoles. We were maybe subscribing to new things. We were certainly watching a lot more things. And what's happened over the last 3 years is the screen industries in the UK has grown hugely. People have been making films, making animations, and making games at a scale never seen before. And that's great news because we've all now got into habits of sort of watching and playing a lot more. So things are looking good for the screen industries. And in fact, that's what the papers have been saying. They're saying that it's actually COVID, at least in this respect, has been positive. So they found ways to film around COVID as well. So the films kept coming. Sets were rearranged. A lot more animation, a lot more sort of CGI game stuff was done. So there's lots more stuff out there. And I just quickly wanted to, I'm not going to show you the boring charts, right? But I just want to show you this because this shows that the UK, our little country, actually beats a lot of the world at creating films, TV and games. And some big numbers there. We don't really need to go into them. 115 billion pounds a year is generated by the films we make and the TV we make. And there, if you look at those big circles in that circle, you can see 47 billion comes from games alone. So we've got a big games, computer games industry in the UK. So screen industries is huge in the UK. And whereas if you were in another country, maybe it wouldn't be so important because they're not as big as us. But certainly in the UK, screen industries is as a career that you could look forward to. So I'm just going to talk about particular areas of the screen industries. Now, we mentioned there sort of being a presenter on TV or maybe being in film. Those are pretty obvious. And I would say there's lots of advice out there. If you want to work in TV or you want to work as a film director, there's plenty of ways that those can happen. But I'm going to concentrate on some real screen industry jobs. And I'm going to concentrate on something called VFX, visual effects, and games. And then if we've got time, because I'm speaking very fast, but I've got lots to show you, we'll maybe cover animation as well. But all those things you can find out about through Escape Studio's website. But let's just, first of all, look at what I mean by that. So I'm going to play a show reel now, and bear with me. Let's wake it up. 2 minutes show reel. Right, and the reason why I showed that is just because animation, visual effects and games are what Escape Studios does. And so I'm going to concentrate on those today. You can see more, or you can, if that stuttered a bit on your machine at home because of your internet connection, you can always see it on our website. However, let's move on because I've got so much other stuff to show you. So here we go. First of all, I want to make a point. Now, if you want to work in the screen industries, you know, obviously it's all about images and sound, and it's all very exciting, but you don't have to necessarily be a creative person. You don't necessarily have to be an artistic person to work in the screen industries. The screen industries, and think about your mobile phone as an example, right? You know, there's lots of interesting images that artists have had to make, and they've designed it for you. But also there's technicians, there's business people, there's science people who are also working in the screen industries to make things work and to make the software that a lot of artists use. So that's why I like to always say this, because people sometimes go, oh, I couldn't possibly work in film or TV because I'm not creative. You don't need to be creative. If you're technical, there are jobs there for you as well. So I always like to show that. And, you know, some people believe, and it's a false belief, to be honest, but people used to believe it, that if you're left-handed, somehow, like I am, somehow you're very creative and, you know, you're more expressive and emotional and you've got great imagination. And if you're right-handed and have a left-hand brain, then somehow you're more mathsy and analytical, a bit like Spock, you know, from Star Trek or something like that. So that's all false. And I just wanted to make that point because some people get really sort of funny about creativity. And I'm going to show you lots of creative images, but behind those creative images, lots of technical people have been working on them as well. So don't think you can't get into the screen industries just because you're not amazingly imaginative or creative. So here's a number of things. Now, no doubt you'll notice what these are, but you probably don't notice the thing that joins them all together, and that is they're all British. So it's very strange, but Britain has been very, very good at creating what's called intellectual property or creating brands. So let's start in the bottom left-hand corner, Wallace and Gromit, of course. I was going to do a quiz here, but it's too easy, isn't it? So I haven't. So Wallace and Gromit started off as a student project by Nick Park, and gradually, you know, an animation company saw it and thought, that's a good idea. And it's built into a brand which has made quadrillions across the world. And it started off as a student project. Peppa Pig, likewise, that was a student project. Well, it was a group of students who came together thinking, oh, we can make an animation company. And they did, and the rest is history. Harry Potter, you probably don't know this, but Harry Potter saved the British film industry, because without Harry Potter, those films wouldn't have been made in Britain and the British film industry would probably have died. But Harry Potter was created by, as you know, J.K. Rowling. Incidentally, she wrote it in a coffee shop in Edinburgh. So coffee was responsible for Harry Potter. But there's another great British invention. Then, if you look at the top left, Warhammer, you might know that genre of games, done by a company near Brighton, Warhammer. No Time to Die, the James Bond film, you might have seen that. It was one of the big films since lockdown. And that was shot at Pinewood, which is in London. And a lot of the visual effects were done in the UK. And then lastly, probably a bit obscure, maybe old school for you guys, is GTA. And that game was made by Rockstar North, based in Edinburgh. So all those things are British brands. And that's why, for some reason, the Brits are very good at making creative projects. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about now. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you about visual effects. Now, some people call it special effects, and that really annoys me. So don't talk about it as special effects, because special effects is actually when you set light to a car and film it, or, you know, set something on fire or put an explosion in front of the camera. That's special effects. Nowadays, a lot more work is done in what's called visual effects, which is digital. And a lot of times you won't even know it's there. So visual effects is what's important. And this is a huge industry in the UK. It's one of the biggest, most exciting screen industries in the UK. So the chances of you getting work in visual effects are good if you study or do an apprenticeship or go to a university and study VFX. It's a vibrant area, and most of the films that you probably think of as being made in Hollywood, the visual effects are done, that's right, they're done in the UK. So let's have a look and explain about it. Now, I love this picture because this says a lot about visual effects, right? And to you, it might look really weird. What we've got here is we've got a scene from John Wick, and you may even know the film and the scene it's from. So in the actual film, John Wick's speeding down a kind of motorway at night, and he's being attacked by these other motorcyclists, and it's very exciting. And you kind of think, how did they shoot that? Did they, go on a motorway somewhere and block it off and do it that way? Well, no, they did it in a studio, a green screen studio, and the rather comical picture of all these people dressed in green lycra. You may know green screens are where you can get rid of the green and replace it with another shot. But those strange people in green are moving the motorcycles and making it look like they're speeding up and getting equal to John Wick on his motorcycle. But it's actually all done in the studio. And I'm just going to show you a bit more of that, just to get you an idea of what VFX is all about. Here we go. Just stop it there because it goes on and it's a great thing to look at. But I'm going to move on because and I particularly like the shot of the guy from Life of Pi who's in the boat and they're throwing fish at him. That's hilarious. But just make the point there that actually a lot of things that you see on TV and film aren't real, and there is a whole industry, a whole screen industry of people who make that happen. And sometimes you don't even know it's happening. Obviously, for things like the Marvel films, as an example here, it's pretty obvious that Hulk doesn't exist and you can't really create scenes like that. But I'm going to show you another side to this VFX as well. Look at this shot here. The top is what they actually shot. The top picture is what they shot. So they had a few extras, a few horses. They had a camera there on a car, and then they had another camera to the side. And, that's not particularly useful. But look what the VFX people created down below. They made hordes of extras appear. They're all digital body doubles, if you like. And they got rid of the car and the other camera things. And so that's what you saw at the bottom in the film. And that happens so much, it's what's called invisible effects, in the sense that not only do you do your superhero Marvel film effects, but you also do what's called invisible effects. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff that, this is more the stuff your parents might watch, or your guardians or carers might watch, okay, rather than you. So they'll know what this is. And I'm going to start just a bit, because we're running out of time, so I'm just going to start a bit further. Okay, that's enough of that. So I hope I've persuaded you that most of the things that you see on TV, whether it's a kind of boring costume drama that your mums, dads, carers might sort of watch, or the Marvel films that you watch, they're all created in visual effects, and so much of it is done in the UK. So there's a whole industry out there that you could join if you're particularly interested. Whoops, let me try and get out of this now. Can't leave. Yeah, okay. So having persuaded you that there's lots of visual effects work out there, it's an important part of the visual effects of the creative industries or the screen industries, let's talk about what you need to do if you're interested in working in that. And there's Baby Groot, of course, again, something that was the visual effects were doing in the UK for Guardians of the Galaxy. So let's, first of all, before I say what you need to do, this is one of our students, or used to be one of our students, and he's created a little piece of work about what's called compositing, which is part of visual effects. Compositing is where you layer images on top of other images. So think about all those soldiers in that big, on that big lawn, okay? They were what's called composited. So I'm going to let him speak for 3 minutes, and then we'll have a short quiz. So watch this.
In today's films, it is possible to create almost anything, but the work is definitely not that easy. It includes many hours of attention to small detail, lots of creativity, and a high level of skill. This world is called VFX and is built from many parts in a long pipeline that creates something amazing. And that's what you see on the big screen. The last role in this long pipeline of visual effects is called digital compositing, which is a creative process of assembling filmed and rendered elements from multiple sources to create a final lifelike illusion. What is that, you ask? Let me show you. It's a profession that includes many skills such as rotoscoping, which separates the foreground from the background, and there are all kinds of techniques to accomplish it. In films, it is common to use a blue or green screen to easily remove the background from behind the actors, and that is called keying. And by doing that, we can create a more realistic background behind the actor. Tracking is another side of the story, and it is very important to know how to do well. There's 2D tracking, and there's 3D tracking, which recreates the exact movement of the camera. Another big part of this job is to remove objects, cables, and trackers and paint them out and insert something else instead. And, of course, there's computer-generated elements, or, in short, CG compositing. Yeah, but my friends always say VFX looks fake.
Okay, so I hope that persuades you that nothing is real. Now, let's move on quickly because I'm running out of time and I want to get to games at least. So I'm just going to throw one thing your way. If you're interested in the screen industries at all, go to screenskills.com because I'm going to use some of the material here as well. Screenskills.com. Screen Skills are the organization which will advise you on all kinds of jobs in the screen industries, not just the ones I'm talking about, but also film, TV, and beyond. So that's a little note to big up them. Now, here's some of the jobs that we've seen in that clip and the other clips, and some of them are what's called entry level, which means you can get into those jobs after studying, whether it's an apprenticeship or whether it's a degree course. And by the way, advice, if you're interested in going to university to a degree course, look around. We think we're really good, but there are other courses as well, and it's really important that you choose one that's right for you. So I would say that don't just take our word for it. Look at our website, look at other universities' websites to make your choices as well. You know, one course doesn't suit everyone. But here's some of the jobs that are entry level, as it's called. So you can leave university or leave an apprenticeship, or in some cases leave internships and go on to work in. And there's a lot of those around. Again, screenskills.com will take you there. We're just going to look at one particular job because it's an important job and it's throughout the screen industries. And that's what's called a runner. Now, this post of a runner is an entry level thing that you can take even if you haven't studied VFX or film or TV at school, because a runner gets you into the company, and then when you're in the company, you can be promoted. And a runner is somebody who is a bit of a dog's body. And remember, you're just joining the organization, you don't know anything, so you learn by being on the job. So we're going to have a look at one particular example. Zaid, who works for a company called Frame Store as the runner, and he's going to talk a bit about what he did. And again, I'll just show you that for a couple of minutes.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Zaid. I work at Frame Store and I'm a runner. We do all sorts of things almost like behind the scenes. So we help and support artists. We make sure the building is running efficiently and properly. We make sure everyone has what they need, including artists and management or production. We help set up meetings that are happening for clients or internal meetings. The great thing about being a runner is that you meet all sorts of people, different departments. So if there is one particular department that you're trying to get into or to try and find out a bit more about, you can go and speak to the people there. They're generally very helpful. But the great thing about running is that we get assigned a mentor in the field that we want to go into. They kind of oversee your training, so they give you certain shots and days they would like you to finish the shot in. They kind of oversee your progress. They also help to develop your skills. The training shots are generally films that have been done in the past. The head of department will decide what shots they would like for people to train on. They think they're good and they're quite challenging sometimes. You learn different ways of sort of approaching a shot. So obviously everyone has different methods. So it's great that you do a first attempt, your mentor will say, oh, try maybe this, to try and sort of perfect that shot. And generally that's how we kind of learn. I did a digital media degree in Bournemouth, but generally people come from different backgrounds, some VFX specific courses, others come from different areas and they enjoyed VFX or they like to do things in their own time. They found out a bit more about visual effects and they want to get into it. Definitely do your research, try and do work placements with companies if you can. The other great thing is there's so much information on the internet, on tutorials you can do, and if that's one thing you like to do in your spare time, definitely do it. Also, if there is a film that you like or a particular scene in a film that you like, find out how it's made, and that's kind of how my interest grew. Just being able to do a number of tasks at once really does help. There's nothing really difficult to it. As long as you have the right attitude and the right mindset and you know this is the area you want to go into.
Cool. So I just have to explain there that Zaid was a VFX runner, but you can get runners in all kinds of posts and all kinds of places. So you can get a runner on a film shoot, for instance, or a runner in a TV studio, and you learn by doing. So you just have to have the right attitude, and it does help, like Zaid was saying there, if you have some kind of media degree or experience. However, just having the right attitude, you will learn so much, and people always need runners. It's not fantastically well paid. You do get paid, but you get looked after and you learn as well. And that's the most important thing. Again, I just like to make the point also here that another entry-level job is what's called assistant technical director. So if, unlike Zaid, you're not particularly creative, maybe you've got a maths bias or science, then look at working in the technical department, being a runner in a technical department, because there the kind of help you give is not particularly creative, it's more technical. So it may be sorting out files, it may be converting different formats, etc., etc. So there's still roles for you as a runner in all kinds of areas of the screen industries. So why get into VFX? Well, if you like working with or fiddling around, as I say, with images, for instance, you like working in Photoshop, if you've used Photoshop, or even done stuff in 3D, then maybe VFX is right for you. If you get excited about films and TV and the characters and really research, how they're made, maybe VFX is right for you. Maybe you get a kick out of completing stuff as well. There's nothing like finishing sort of stuff. And if you're that kind of person, VFX definitely needs people who like finishing stuff. And also, if you're into VFX, you can travel the globe, because not only are the companies in the UK, but there are companies like Weta in New Zealand, who made Lord of the Rings. There's companies in Canada, there's companies in the States, etc. So you can travel the world with your skills as well. What's, the thing to bear in mind though is VFX is very London centric. 90% of the industry is down in London. So if you don't like London or don't want to move to London, then VFX is maybe a bit difficult, although lots of people do commute into London. And since post-pandemic as well, it's now much easier to work from home as well for a VFX company. Okay, so where do you start? Well, I would say look at www.accessvfx.org. That's a great place to start if you're interested in VFX. Lots of opportunities and information there. Try and find some free software. We like Pixlr, PXLR, free software you can use on the web and just do your own VFX. Get together with some mates as well. If you've got some mates, shoot a film and do your own VFX. It's a great place to start. It's all about manipulating pixels and detail. So you become kind of like a visual magician. Okay, so I'm just going to flip because I'm running out of time and I wanted to make sure I get to games. But before I do, I wanted to actually ask my my good colleague, Neve, who should be in the background somewhere, if we can just ask a few questions to our audience through our Mentimeter. So first thing, Neve, can you, shall I stop sharing? Yeah, you've got it, great. So here's the first question we want to ask you. And if you look at the top of the screen there, if you go to www.mentimeter.com, and use the code 6729587, I believe, what do you think was the earliest VFX ever in a film? So this is just testing you to see what you might know about VFX. So when was the earliest VFX in a film, do you think? Was it Star Wars? Was it Jurassic Park? Was it Harlow Council documentary? Or was it Mary, Queen of Scots, which seemed a long time ago, 1894? So when was the earliest VFX in a film? Jurassic Park creeping up now. Anybody else got any ideas? Oh, Star Wars creeping up. Oh, it's like a horse race, isn't it? Yeah, so nobody thinks Harlow Council's documentary in 1972 was the earliest VFX because it's totally made up. Exactly. And just so you know, the winner was Mary, Queen of Scots. It was a film in 1894, a century and 40 years, 1.5 centuries ago. Crikey. And it was the first VFX ever in a film. So even when the films just started, that's when VFX was around. So let's ask another question, Neve, if that's all right. And the second question is, what does a runner do? And we've given you 4 examples. My eyesight's not so good, so I can't read them, so hopefully you can. So what do you think is the definition of a runner? One is they run around. Yep, they sure do. 2, there's a rather longer definition. 3, they run the budget to make sure everybody doesn't overspend. Yeah, we haven't been able to fool you, have we? Well done, everybody. You've all got it right. We'll have to try harder at fooling you. Thank you very much for that. It shows that you've been paying attention. Let's try one more then, Neve, if that's okay, before I move on to games, and I'm running out of time, I know. Which one of these is the best definition of VFX? So is it the creation of fantasy elements that don't exist, like mentors and spaceships? Is it any elements added to the film later than that weren't shot in the original? Or is it 3D animated work created? Okay. Oh, we fooled one person, which is kind of true. Number 1, it's kind of true, but you're right. Number 2, any elements added later to the film. That's what VFX is all about. Okay, thank you, Neve. I'm going to reshare now just because I want my moment of fame back. Thank you very much for that. And we should be seeing me again. Me, it's all about me. And so let's quickly go into the games in the last few minutes I have. And I wanted to mention that games are different from VFX. There's a huge games industry, but the great thing about games, maybe for you folks, is the companies are spread around the UK. They don't have to be in London. Like a lot of VFX companies are based in London and a few in places like Manchester. With games, because they're smaller or tend to be smaller, they're all over the place. So even if you're living in a region a long way from London, there's probably a games company near you can think about. And even if you're in London, here's a map of all the games companies in London. Loads of them, small. The numbers that you see, by the way, are how many people they are. So a lot of them are startups, started by young people, but there's loads of games companies. Now, games is interesting because it's relatively young. There's over 20,000 people working on games, and there's probably double the amount again working to support the games industry. So it's very much for young people. The best way to get into games is to show that best way to get into games is not to be a gamer, but to show that you are interested in how games work. It is still more male than female, but 28% female. However, that's changing, of course, because the kind of games that are being made are much more inclusive these days as well. Here's a chart from a couple of weeks ago and of the best games in the UK. And EA Sports, they're based in Guildford, London, elsewhere. Sony Computer Entertainment are based in London. So these are places in in the UK making these amazing games. And as I've mentioned before, Grand Theft Auto, made among other places in Edinburgh and Leeds and London. And then Watch Dogs Legion by Ubisoft, Newcastle and Leamington Spa, and Creative Assembly, who make Warhammer. They're in West Sussex near Brighton, and they're very proud of how they treat their workforce. So if you want to get started in games, what do you do? Well, again, play around with free software, play around with Unity or Unreal, and they're what's called games engines. And in fact, if you learn those, you know, you're probably guaranteed a job at the moment, because everybody needs skills in Unreal and Unity. But there's also Krita, and there's also lots of other sort of free games things to download. So get involved, start making games or making images for games. Research some of those companies I showed. Find out about them, because they're on your doorstep. You know, they're there, so you can even write to them and maybe ask for internships later on. But also remember that everybody wants to do games, so it's a very competitive industry. You know, everybody thinks just because they play games well, they're going to make games well. So you have to stand out if you want to get in the games industry. And there are loads and loads of jobs. Again, screen skills will help you out with all those jobs. One of them is finding bugs, being a games tester. That's the way in. And that might be something that is something that you want to do. I'm just going to quickly, he says, I was going to show you. Oh, I've missed out that slide. So what I suggest you do is look on YouTube for how real life works. And there's a talk there with a games tester about how you test games. And it's a bit like a runner is for film and TV and VFX. Games testing is a way you can get into a company, and your job is to play early versions of the games, find out what doesn't work, and write reports so the technical people, the developers, can solve the issues that they have. So that's a great way to get into the games industry in the UK. There are lots of other ways. If you're really good at organizing people, if you're really into schedules and timetables and helping in teams, then think about becoming an assistant games producer. That's, again, you don't have to be creative for that. You just have to be good at organizing other people and also working on budgets, which you probably aren't at your age, but after going to university or in an apprenticeship, you soon become used to creating budgets. There's also loads of jobs within games industry. And, you know, the stuff we do is games art, which is things like this. It's designing environments, designing props for other people's games. And there's a whole range of art projects there. So why get into games? Well, because you enjoy all kinds of games. So if you're just into shoot 'em ups, for instance, it's very unlikely that you'll work in a games company that just does shoot 'em ups. So you've got to enjoy games for the sake of it, right? You can't just like games because you like playing games. You need to like the mechanics of games and analyzing why they work. And, you know, again, if you get a kick out of creating stuff and completing it, games companies will love you. And also, all games are made by teams of people. So show that you want to work in a team. You'll later on, I believe, meet a games person, a games artist, so you'll be able to ask them about this. But remember, you know, it's not a good industry to go into just because you like playing games. Everybody likes playing games, but few people really have what it takes to analyze a game and work on a game that they themselves would never ever play. And secondly, you know, it is still male dominated, but changing fast. So it's good to see that it is changing fast and being more representative. Right, I think we're at the end now. So let me cut my slides short, because I was going to cover computer animation, but it was never the case I was going to finish this anyway. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for everybody for listening to me for so long. and hope you enjoy the rest of the show. And the people later on will hopefully back up what I've been saying to you about being a runner and entry-level jobs. And whatever you choose to do, best of luck. But remember, the whole of the screen industries loves people. It likes people who try things out. It likes people who put themselves forwards and are positive. So it's about attitude as much as anything else. So thank you very much for having me. And I guess now, Max, are we going to a break so people can run around the garden and
Absolutely.
make a vodka martini and
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's genuinely, thank you very much for that, Saint. That was really good to see, and great information as well. And what's really interesting is to see how big the industry is in the UK, and for students to understand the opportunity is there, because it's huge in this country, this industry, and there are a lot of opportunities, and you've seen the different ways of getting in, and you've seen how, I mean, my mind has been blown today. I didn't quite realize how much, I don't want to say it because it shatters a dream, how much is not real when I watch TV. I knew it, but how much, and it's oof, that was amazing to see, and the things that are available. And just to say about being a runner, a friend of mine who I went to school with always wanted to get into TV, and he was a runner at ITV, and then ended up working on Loose Women, and then went from being a runner to going a little bit higher on Loose Women, and then went a little bit higher. Now he lives in LA and works on a big TV show called Dr. Phil. I don't expect people here to know it, but if you do, great. And I think he's an assistant producer on Dr. Phil, which is quite an amazing achievement. It wasn't what he studied at university, but it was his absolute passion. And so he went from Mitcham in London all the way to LA, and that's what he does now. And he started as a runner because that was his passion, and just he asked the right questions and put himself in situations and did those jobs to learn and worked his way up. So the opportunities are there. You saw that.
And just to say that Zaid, who we showed on that film, that was a while ago, and now Zaid is working in a film in a company called City Site, who makes some of the top Hollywood films. So as you're saying, Max, you know, being a runner can be sort of hard work at first, but it can take you to some amazing places.
Absolutely. And that's the point as well. Look at the options that are available, and come into a session like today really makes you understand those different options, where to look, what to see. You know, what we will do as well is we will share those links with you after the session today so that you can use them as well. And you can watch this recording back next week once it goes on the website, and you can see those links again and have a look at that information. But it's been brilliant. Saint, are you able to come back for the Q&A later today?
I'm addicted. I'll have to.
Fantastic. Brilliant. So yeah, so think about questions that you're going to have for Saint later on, because you're going to see other people as well, and there will be lots of questions that you'll have. Come back later for the Q&A, and you will meet Saint for it. So brilliant. Yes, we do need a quick break. Other hosts are coming on. Saint, thank you so much for your time, and Neve, that is with Saint, thank you for your help with the Mentimeter as well. Really, really appreciate it, and thank you for that. And we'll see you shortly. So. For students, we're going to take a little 5-minute break. It was going to be 10, but we need to be back at 11:10, and we are currently at 11:05, almost 11:06. I've got a few other people coming in. I can see some of my next speakers are there already, but relax until 11:10. Go and grab a drink of water, use the bathroom. Don't log out. Stay logged in. I'm staying logged in, but we will be back shortly. Right, we're back. It's 11:10. Hopefully everybody's back from the break. I'll give it about 30 seconds and I'll be able to see people coming back. But now for this session, let me just go back to the agenda briefly so we can see what we're doing. So this session, we're looking at how to excel as an entry-level creative, and then we're doing a speed meet. So we're actually meeting 3 people in this session. I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a minute and they will take over. So we're going to meet 3 people in this session. We've got Jamie, and Michael. And they're going to speak a little bit each. And then once they've all spoken, what we're going to do is for the last 30 minutes, we're going to go out into breakout rooms. What I want you to think about as students is you're going to meet each one of these individually, have questions for them. Everything you want to know. There were some questions from the previous session. Ask those questions in when you get into the breakout rooms. This is your chance to meet them. And also listen to what they have to say. Start building your questions and use that opportunity. And you can put the questions in the chat box, or you can come off mic, turn on your mic and speak, whatever you are comfortable with. You will be put into the breakout rooms. You don't need to do anything. You'll go into the breakout rooms automatically, and you will actually meet somebody from Pathway in each of the breakout rooms and one of the speakers. And then after 10 minutes, they will rotate. You stay in that room, then you meet the next person. And then again, they rotate and you meet the next person. So you don't need to, worry about it. Cool. So I think we're all here. I can see most of the students are back. Give me a quick hello in the chat box or an I'm back or whatever, because I did say to take a break to get a cup of water, a cup of coffee. I didn't have time to make coffee. Brilliant. I can see everyone. So let's meet the 3 people that we're meeting. So we've got Jamie, and Michael, and that's not going to confuse me at all. I've got Jamie. I don't know who's going to go in which order, but let's go with Jamie Floodgate first. Just give us a hello and a little bit about you, and then we'll meet Jamie, and then we'll meet Michael.
Hello, Max.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm Jamie Floodgate. I am a senior animator at Blue Zoo. I have been at Blue Zoo for 3 years. I have been animating for about nearly 4 years. I had a career break late in life. Decided to come to Escape Studios, do a short course there, and took to animation like a fish in water, essentially, and absolutely loved it. Spent about 9 months, did an 18-week course, spent 6 months working on my show reel. I managed to land myself a job at Blue Zoo, working on Paddington Bear and also Big Tree City, which is coming out on Netflix next week, and back on Paddington Bear now. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, basically.
Fantastic. And then we're going to meet you a little bit more shortly. Do you, just a quick question, do you have slides to go through as well?
I've got an example of some work that I did as a junior. So I think I could probably show that. It's about a minute long, just to essentially show people kind of what you'd expect to do as a junior animator within Blue Zoo and the kind of allocation you get per episode.
Perfect. Once we come back to you, I'll let you do that and I'll let you take over control of the screen. But sure. Let's move on to the next Jamie. Let me get this right. So Jamie Stokes, welcome to the session. How are you?
Good morning. Good, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, I started working or doing visual effects as a hobby when I left school, and then in 2016 decided to go to college to study it a bit more properly, and then ended up doing a 3-year degree at Escape, graduating last year. And since graduating, I've been working at Union VFX in London, working on all sorts of film and TV projects.
Brilliant.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind 5 years, but yeah, going good.
I bet it has. And just to check, will you have slides as well?
Yeah, I've got a couple of slides showing some uni and some work at Union.
Perfect. Well, we'll get that. So what I'll do is I'll make you and I'll make you a co-host as well shortly so that you'll be able to share your screen too. Fantastic. Okay, so let's meet Michael before we go back to the first Jamie. Michael, how are you?
Hi, good morning. I assume I could be heard correctly.
You certainly
can. It's good. Technical stuff's all good. Fantastic. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm a 3D artist at XR Games. It's a VR studio up in Leeds. I've been doing game art for about 7 years now, not professionally. I've been in the industry for going on 2 to 3 years now. Previously worked at Playground Games, working on Forza Horizon 5 and Fable. Forgot the name of it for a second. I worked on it for 6 months. Yeah, I attended Escape Studios as well for 3 years, the undergraduate course. And yeah, excited to talk to everyone, excited to show off a bit of work, give some insight.
Fantastic, that's pretty awesome. I recognize the game Forza Horizon 5 because I play it. I never realized so many games were actually made in the UK, which is quite exciting to hear.
It's a lot,
never been
yes.
a Grand Theft Auto player, but lots of my friends did.
Yeah, well, it's very funny. I live in Leeds, is a big game industry hub. I live right around the corner from Rockstar Games, funnily enough. Yeah, UK is a huge hub. London, Leeds, Leamington Spa, and up north, up in Scotland, Britain. Sorry, Rockstar Games and Build a Rocket Boy up there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Right, so let's go back to Jamie Floodgate. Jamie first. Jamie, you are a co-host now, so you should be able to share your screen. Talk us a little bit as what you've prepared in terms of how to excel as an entry-level creative, and tell us a little bit about your journey and share some of that work. So go for it.
Okay, let's share my screen. Here we go. You can see that, I guess.
Certainly can.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, yeah, I came into Blue Zoo as a junior animator. So as I said, I just wanted to show you guys kind of per episode the amount of work that you'd get on a 10-minute animated TV show, the kind of quality that involves in that, and things like that. So it's very much, when you're kind of learning at uni, it's that step up to being able to do it. When you're doing your show reel and working on stuff whilst you're at uni, you kind of have a long time. You might have, a 10-second shot, and you might spend 3 months on it. When you kind of get to working in the industry, you have maybe a minute and a half worth of work, and you have to do it in 4 weeks, plus meetings, plus everything else. So it's a really, really big ramp up. Obviously, if the company's worth its salt, then they ease you in nice and gradually, rather than dumping you in the deep end. But still, there is a massive kind of difference between how fast you have to work on your own shots at college or uni, to get every single detail right into kind of moving into sort of television production, especially where it is really fast paced. So yeah, I'm just going to show you a little allocation that I had in my first season in Paddington when I was a junior. I chose this piece basically because it was when I really started to get it and kind of pick up a lot of new techniques and things like that. So yeah, I'll play it through. So that's that. I think the reason why I picked that essentially is, it is quite a difficult shot having, 2 characters essentially constrained to each other. There's upbeats, there's action, there's body mechanics, there's downbeats, there's acting in there. So it kind of had a little bit of everything, with the added difficulty of, making sure that 2 characters were always connected to each other. So that was a big learning point for me. So yeah, so that's that.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. We're going to go out into breakout rooms in a while, and we're going to get more questions. I've already got loads of questions, but I want to save them for the breakout room because all the students need to hear it. So that's brilliant. So that's some of the work that you actually. So let me get that clear. You actually did that piece of work.
Yeah.
And that was in the film. I haven't seen the film Paddington.
In the TV series, yeah.
In the TV series,
yeah.
Brilliant. That's quite an impressive thing.
Thank you.
It's all right. You're welcome. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Remember, questions for everybody. Keep them until we get into the breakout rooms, and you will get a chance to question everybody. I've already got loads of questions for Jamie, but we'll get to them in the breakout rooms. Now, let's move on to the next Jamie. Jamie, back to you.
Hi. Yeah. I think I'll keep it pretty brief as well, and just show some of my work from my time at uni, in the form of my show reel, which I then used to get my job. And then, I'll show you some of the work we did on Moon Knight, which is one of our most recent shows. And it was my first credit. So yeah, let me share my screen. So you should be seeing that.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, I'll sort of talk over this as it goes. If I turn that audio down. So yeah, this was my graduate reel as I left uni, and it mostly consists of the sort of short films we worked on in our final year, where we really started specializing and working in teams, which was the first time I'd worked in a team, really. I think most of my college career, it was mostly just personal work, learning on my own. And yeah, learning at Escape was the first time I really got a chance to specialize in my own skills, working with cameras and doing match move, which is what I do now. And also, yeah, just working teams, managing people and creating something a bit bigger, which is not possible to achieve on your own. You sort of find that working teams, everyone has their own skills, and bringing them all together, you can create something much larger than you could ever create on your own. So this film was, we worked with people on the animation degree, and we were able to actually shoot on set, which gave us some experience sort of setting up a shoot and then taking it all the way through to a fully animated, integrated with live action footage project, which was, yeah, really interesting and came with some challenges working with people and getting used to that. And then we took those skills into our final VFX project at the end of the year, which was this sci-fi short, which we're seeing some of here, which again was a big collaborative effort between our 2D and our 3D teams, working together to like create these looks on what is essentially a bit of a budget at university. You're not working with like loads of time, you're only working over like 12 weeks. And yeah, just creating these quick projects. And then there's some of my personal work, which I worked on at the same time, sort of building my generalist skills as a 3D artist. Since graduating, I then went on to work at Union as a match move artist. And one of the biggest projects I worked on was Moonlight. So I've got our VFX breakdown reel here, which should hopefully give you a bit of an insight into all the types of works that can go on sort of unnoticed and noticeable in like a big budget TV show.
Can I quickly ask Jamie what a match move artist does?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I'll let this keep playing it. Yeah, so a match move artist essentially deals with cameras and recreating the cameras that we used on set in sort of taking those and creating digital copies of those cameras. And it's kind of like one of the building blocks of all visual effects, because from there, once you've got the camera, other artists can start putting other things into that scene and look at them through that camera. It's a bit of a technical job that's quite hard to describe, but it's quite a common entry role for 3D artists. As you sort of spend your time working a lot with cameras and fundamentals, but it teaches you a lot of other techniques. And yeah, you're sort of one of the first points in the pipeline where once you've made your cameras, all the other departments can start using those to start putting in environments, replacing green screens, cleaning things up, adding in so CG digital cars, which we did here in this sequence, stuff like that. It all comes from building that first camera, which was on set.
So when you watch this stuff that we're watching now, is a lot of this is this used quite often then? Because I'm realizing that what I watch on TV, a lot of it, or I see in films, a lot of it is not as real as I think it is.
Yeah, it's sort of surprising how many sort of what you think might be quite a mundane, normal shot will actually involve quite a lot of visual effects, be it sort of cleaning things up in the background, or you have a director wanting to change the sky if sort of the lighting conditions on the day weren't quite what they wanted. It all requires sort of building cameras and then, yeah, creating environments and assets and things to go in, or removing stuff. So whether you want to add stuff or remove stuff, it all sort of requires going through this, building a camera, which I do, and then, yeah, through this whole VFX sort of pipeline. So yeah, it's pretty common, and it's not just like the big budget stuff you see. It can be a shot of two characters talking quite often.
Okay, interesting. All right, so I'm going to have more questions about that once we get into the breakout rooms.
Sure.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay.
Stop sharing my screen. Yeah.
Thank you. So keep yourself ready for the breakout room. Thank you for that. That's good to share as well. Good to see too. So again, that's your own work.
Yeah, so the stuff I did at uni was sort of some of my own work and then lots of group work. And then, yeah, in that Moon Knight breakdown there, yeah, I worked on about 30 different shots over the course of that sequence, building cameras. But yeah, there was a team of, I think, 3 match move artists on that. And then obviously a wider sort of CG and 2D team.
Interesting. Okay, so that's cool. So again, we're getting to see real work that people have actually done and that has actually been used in real life, which is really cool. Okay, brilliant, fantastic. Thank you for that, Jamie. Keep yourself ready for the breakout rooms. Michael, so welcome to you.
Hello, hi. I have a few slides to share. So I'll be sharing my screen, preferably with audio. I have a little bit of a video. Share sound, there we go. And we are going to share this page right here. So just give me a shout when everyone can see that.
Can see it, go for it.
Yeah, so I thought I'd just start off with my portfolio and just the sort of work that I do. This portfolio that, that got me my first job, maybe give or take a few pieces. So you can see a bit of material art here and a bit of weapon art and a bit of vehicle art, and then my professional and group projects. Just to give a sort of overview of what I do and as a 3D artist. And I'll jump straight into my presentation, and I'll go a bit more in depth in that in our breakout rooms. Yeah, so I've more than a few slides to show. I'll try and get through as quickly as possible in the interest of time. But just a little breakdown of my career, all the way back from when I left school. I promise it won't take a second. That's the uninteresting part. And all the way to now. So yeah, so who am I? We've already done a little bit of a breakdown of who I am. Like I said, I'm an Escape Studios graduate from the Art of Games course, currently at XR Games, and I previously worked at Playground Games, and I have a little bit of a video for us to see if you all like a visual. So let me know if everyone can hear and see that.
You can hear it and see it.
Brilliant.
Everybody talk right now. Tell me what you want right now. You could get it. Yeah. Well, you can get it. Yeah. Yeah, you can get it. Tell me what you want and I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm not giving up. Come on, we got nothing left to lose. I've been it from the start. You know I'm not going anywhere. I don't give a. Tell me what you want. You can get it. Yeah. Well, you can get it. Yeah. Yeah, you can get it. You can get it.
Yeah, Forza Horizon 5. That was quite an experience to work on. A lot of good memories of that. So quick breakdown of my career timeline. I'm not sure how much of this I'll be able to get through. I think, like say, I might be able to be cut short, but
oh, you've got time, don't worry.
I'll do as much as I can. Starting all the way from the beginning, leaving school. And I thought I might give some insight into this because I know we got some, college and like secondary school attendees here. So leaving school, aka learning what I was bad at. This was a time, when I thought, academic was the way to go. I weren't very creative. Well, I didn't think I was very creative. Not the greatest sketch artist, not the greatest artist in general. And, constantly being told that, art isn't the way to go. So I signed up to academic courses, history, geography, maths, nothing I was ever really good at. And I essentially failed school. And that was a big learning experience. And I sort of realized, what could I be good at? So from there, I jumped straight into a creative course. I realized, hold on, I did okay in product design. I did a decent grade on a few courses I did okay in. And I jumped into an interactive media and digital design course at Kingston College. And there was sort of finding out what I could enjoy. We learned Photoshop, and it was my first experience. Well, second experience, if you don't include Google SketchUp at school, with 3D modeling. And I fell in love. It was something that I realized I was good at. Something that, I realized I can express myself and create different things. And it was an interesting experience, but there was still this sort of underlying feeling that I had to jump to something academic. So I took some time away after applying to architecture courses. I thought, architecture is the way to go. There was this emphasis on, that's what smart people do, is architecture. Smart people don't do game art. That's something that I was always told. And that's completely incorrect. Some of the smartest people I know in the games industry, VFX industry, animation industry. So after going to a few interviews and realizing that wasn't for me, I took some time away. And that's where I heard about Escape Studios, word of mouth. I think it was at a barbecue, and someone said, a friend of mine, he went to Escape Studios and he got a job at Rocksteady working on Batman. I thought, wow, Batman. I love Batman. I love the Arkham series. I was playing the most recent one at the time. And I thought, okay, wow, there's an option there. So I took some time and I taught myself. I went a bit more in depth with game art. I taught myself 3D modeling. I found something that I enjoyed, which was hard surface art, which is, vehicle and weapon art. And I started to do a bit of a deep dive. And I wanted to apply to Escape. So I thought, okay, if I wanted to apply to Escape, I want to know what it's like working in a game studio. So during this time off, I emailed about, I'm going to say 40 studios. I annoyed about 40 studios, 40 to 50 around the London and Surrey area, south of England, Brighton, all of that. Emailed about 40 out and said, hey, I just want to walk into the studio. I want to sit with you guys and just learn what you do and learn what the atmosphere is like. And I really wanted to know if I wanted to do it and whether I loved it. And I was lucky enough that I got an internship at Edge Case Games, which is now Wargaming. If you know World of Tanks and World of Planes and World of whoever knows what, they make vehicle combat games. So Edge Case got acquired by Wargaming, so they no longer exist. But yeah, I worked there for about 3-4 months as an intern, just working on trailers, doing 3D models, like proxy models for games that were unreleased. And finding out that I really loved working in a game studio, and this was definitely what I wanted to do. Everyone was lovely. Everyone was always eager to help. And that's something I noticed about the games industry. There's this eagerness to teach others. And then Escape Studios and making that choice to attend uni. And that was 3 years on the undergraduate degree on the Art of Games course. And that was, that I learned a lot in a short time. And what was useful about that experience was being alongside other people who loved to do what I did. And, I'd never met anyone else apart from, at the studio I worked that was passionate about 3D modeling, sort of going out to break spaces and chatting about 3D modeling was just, it was great. And I learned a tremendous amount. After that, working on my portfolio that I showed briefly before, I got my first job at Playground Games. Once again, learning a ton in a short time. I worked on Forza Horizon 5 for 1 year and Fable for 6 months. So I was a full-time contractor there. And that was an incredible experience, you know, just watching that trailer before, you know, like I said, brought back a lot of good memories. Working on Forza was an incredible experience, and the people I worked alongside, once again, always eager to help. You know, obviously I was a junior, I was an associate technical artist there, which is a very broad title. It was almost like a generalist role. You know, there was always, you know, if I had a question, they were there. And, you know, I really want to push home that, you know, there's people in the games industry that are always eager to teach and eager to help out. And then to now. So that was a very quick run through about 7 years of my life, 7, 8 years of my life. So working at XR Games, once again, it's a bit of a smaller studio. So there's this emphasis on taking ownership over a lot of art. When you work in a big studio, there's a lot of people, sometimes working with 400 plus, you know, across multiple different studios in the world, like we were on Forza, you know, working with Sumo and outsourced studios and so on and so forth. It's great working in a small studio. I get a lot of ownership. And once again, I'm working alongside people who are very experienced and very talented and always eager to help. Just a quick run over of what is game art, what do I do? So you're responsible for creating all the visual elements of the game, and that is everything, all caps, underlined, characters, environment, objects, weapons, vehicles, VFX, like explosions, animation, everything. Especially if you're working in a smaller studio, like I said, you take ownership over a lot. You know, in a larger studio, you would have a dedicated lighting artist, you would have a dedicated environment artist, etc., etc. But it's still a technical role. So you know, understanding the technical aspects of game art, optimization, etc. I could do a bit more of a breakdown this once again in our breakout space if anyone has any questions. And the skills of an artist, you know, what makes a good entry-level artist, what makes someone you know, that, you know, Raf Grassetti, you know, just name a few, you know, Tim Bergholz, etc., if anyone knows any of those guys. Artistic ability, composition, color, lighting, etc. Understanding traditional art skills as well as digital art. And the 3D modeling software. Blender, Maya, 3ds Max. I want to send out some links to these if anyone is interested. Download links. If you're a student, you can get most of these for free. There are student licenses. So you just send a little bit of evidence that you're a student and they would give it away. Blender is completely free. So anyone who's interested and don't want to go through the motions of getting a student license, Blender, you can just download. And texturing software. Once again, these have student licenses, apart from Photoshop, I'm pretty sure. But Substance Painter, Substance Designer, student licenses. So if you want to try these out, yeah, feel free. And game engines. This is the big one. You're a game artist, you need to know how to work a game engine. Unreal, that's the go-to for any artist. But if you want to try something different, Unity. How to become an artist. A portfolio. Once again, underlined all capital letters. Creating the software tools I mentioned earlier, using those creative skills, using your creative eye, and displaying game engines. And emphasis, never stop working on your portfolio. Not as you know, you have to get lots of work in, etc., but you know, do what you enjoy. If you like making weapons like I do, keep making weapons, keep making materials, keep working on it, keep teaching yourself, keep learning, because there's always something new. Likely studied a game art animation degree. So like I did, I studied at Escape Studios. I did my undergraduate degree. I didn't really have any GCSEs in subject like art, animation, coding. That's something I discovered later that I wanted to do. I did a level 3 BTEC in interactive media and digital design, and that's sort of what gave me that foundation. A lot of game artists I know are entirely self-taught. So these aren't exactly vital, but it definitely helps to get that base understanding early of like traditional art skills, like photography, drawing, really helpful. A network, you know, get to know people, reach out. Like I said, the games industry is really eager to, you know, help young people and teach and get everyone in. We want more game artists, more and more and more. So network, get to know people. And what makes a good entry level? Something that I learned during my time at Playground, and from mistakes I made and things I did well, and from what's more experienced people told me. Just keep asking questions. I keep driving this point home. It's full of artists that want to help. Never be afraid to ask, and never assume. If you don't know something, it's always okay to ask, and just keep asking, and that's what really makes someone a good entry level of like, okay, I don't really understand this. How can I go to my senior? How can I go to my lead and say, hey, what do I do? And excellent communication, just driving those previous 2 points home of never stop communicating is so important. Your creative eye can't be taught, and communication just comes with experience, I find, of like how to communicate, how to receive feedback on your art, and how to give feedback on your art. It's never an insult to someone say, oh, this could be a little bit better, or this is falling short. It's about, how to take that and apply it well. It's also the fastest way to learn. Keep on learning. Like I said, keep working on your portfolio. I think I have about 5 personal projects going at once. Whether any of them will be complete, who knows? But it's important to just keep doing stuff. There's always something to learn, new workflows, and plenty of online resources. The internet is a bottomless pit of online resources, learning resources, talks, etc. I have some portfolio examples of some really great junior artists. These are all escapees. I'll run through a couple of them. So here we have Tadas, who's a great character artist. He's a junior character artist at Supermassive, working on games like The Quarry, etc. Until Dawn, if anyone knows those games. Yeah, fantastic. Great example of a great junior character artist. I will jump to a lighting artist, George Morris. Does excellent work. Great examples of character lighting and environment lighting. I'd like to share these links afterwards, just in the interest of time. I'll just skip on through. Laura Higgins, Bridget Wright, great 3D artists. And some useful links. I'd like to share these in our little breakout spaces at some point, but ArtStation, that is the host site. I mean, like I said here, this is my portfolio. It's hosted on ArtStation. That is the go-to for artists in the games industry. This is the place to be. This is the place to post your work if you want, to share with potential employees. And Polycount, that is sort of more like a 3D forum website. So a place to post your work and get feedback. Discord is also really useful for that. So there's Discord servers like one called the Dynasty server, the 3D modeling server. And those are filled with incredibly talented artists who are just eager to give feedback. And what I've linked here is the GDC channel, and this is Game Developer Conference. And this is full of really useful talks on everything to do with the games industry. And you can see, research on visual fatigue, but there's also some really great stuff on, from great art directors, some more technical stuff, some more sort of soft skill stuff like communication, as I was mentioning before. Really, really useful. And the Blender 3D link, which I'll be sharing if anyone is interested in experimenting with some 3D modeling. And yeah, that was sort of the end of my talk. Feel free to reach out. I'll be linking these. Like I say, I'm always, like everyone else in the industry, really eager to help out. If anyone has any questions, I'll be sharing these links in our breakout spaces. So always feel free to reach out and send any questions about anything games industry related. And yeah, and questions reserved for our breakout spaces, I guess.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Michael. Really appreciate it. And do share those links in the breakout room as well. That'd be really good to share those. And if we don't get time in the breakout room, just at the end of the session, once we all come back in, you can put them in the chat box. Everybody has access to them. And Isaac's going to have a question for you about Blender once you get into the breakout room, because I think there's a theory that anybody who knows how to use Blender is beyond human. But maybe we can dispel those links in the breakout room. But what I'm going to do now is I know that Neve from my side has been working in the background to put us into breakout rooms, and she's going to tip me the wink in a second. But I've got Izzy and Kerry who are helping me in the breakout rooms, and they weren't prepared for this, but we're going to get them to say a quick hello and a very brief introduction of themselves, because you're going to meet them in the breakout room. So Izzy, welcome to the session. Quick hello.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Izzy. I'm a senior account manager here at Pathway CTM. I'm really looking forward to hosting these breakout rooms with you to ask lots of questions.
Fantastic, brilliant. And Kerry?
Hey everyone, I'm Kerry. I'm an account manager at Pathway CTM, so I work alongside Izzy, and I've been working with Escape Studios to set up this event. So it was great to hear from all the speakers, and yeah, excited to be in the breakout rooms as well to hear some of your questions.
Fantastic. And what we're going to do actually, Neve, just to mess you up, we're going to do 7 minutes in each breakout room. That'll give us enough time. Ask questions. Let's just get involved. Once you get into the breakout rooms, you've had the introductions, you've met everyone. Let's just go straight for questions. Izzy, Kerry, please remember to record in the breakout rooms. I'm already recording. Record, put it in the chat for me that you have started recording. And Neve, are we ready to go into our breakout rooms?
Yeah, already.
Fantastic. Let's go for it. Let's do it. I think we're all back in. I think everybody is back in, which is brilliant to see. Those rooms have been great, and it's been absolutely amazing to meet both Jamies and Michael and discuss in a little bit more depth and understand better what it is that they're working on and understanding those options that they've got for the future. It's been absolutely brilliant to hear, because what we always say to students is explore, find out, try these things. You know, do the research, come to these sessions, meet the people, ask the questions, because that's the really important part, because you can't just get away with waiting for it at the last minute. You have to do the research. And this is why we do these sessions, to bring as many opportunities and possibilities to you as possible. And asking the questions you did is absolutely brilliant. And it's so worth it. Kerry and Izzy, thank you so much for your time. We are about to go to lunch, but thank you very much for coming along and supporting and being part of the breakout rooms. I hope you found it as interesting as I did.
Yeah, no, it was great. So interesting and such great questions from everyone. I hadn't even finished doing my intro before the chat box was filling up. So yeah, some great students on the call today.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Kerry, what about you?
Yeah, the exact same. So many good questions coming through. Such an interest as well. So yeah, it was great.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, look, we're going to go to lunch and we're going to come back at 1 o'clock. So don't log out. Don't turn off your, don't turn off the session, but turn off your camera, turn off your microphone, go and have lunch and replenish yourselves. Before we hit lunch, though, I do want to say thank you to Jamie, to Jamie, and to Michael for giving up your time, for coming along and speaking and sharing your experiences and passing on that information to other people that hopefully, we heard there's a shortage of artists in this industry and it is huge in the UK. So hopefully we'll get some of you interested in it and moving on to it. I've got a few ideas of those people, but yes, Jamie, Michael, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And lots of thank yous in the chat box as well. Right, everybody, let's go and have lunch. Back here at 1 o'clock. I'll be back a couple of minutes before 1, and then we've got another session where we're meeting more people and having another speed meet with more questions, and then we've got a wrap up at the end. Keep those questions coming throughout the day, and we'll see you shortly. So thank you very much. And to the team at Pathway, go and enjoy your lunch as well. Thank you. Right, everyone, it's 1 o'clock. Welcome back from lunch. Yep, it's the second part of today's day, Insights into Careers and Screen Industries with Escape Studios. We've had a great morning. Now we're back after lunch. To get everybody woken up again, I want to see in the chat box, give me a hello and tell me, what did you have for lunch? Give me some insights. What do we have for lunch? Today was a bit of a longer break for me in terms of lunch. So I did some emails and then I managed to reheat some leftovers, which I made. Well, they're lunches for the week that I made. Bit of hummus and pita with some grated veg. But then I had some, tomatoes with chickpeas and fake meat. Oh, a burrito. Okay, cheese wrap. Okay, what else we got? Got lots of people coming back in, which is brilliant. You can see lots of hellos. We've got pasta. I have no idea what baba booey is. If you can enlighten me, that'd be great. We've got nuggets, sandwiches. Yeah, okay. Bolognese, yeah, good. Jacket potatoes, good bit of comfort food. Potato, boiled eggs, tuna, love it. Yeah, comfort food. It's not quite, well, I'm in southwest London. It's not hot today, I'll tell you that much. Oh, a bit of cheesy pasta, egg and avocado. Yeah, compared to last week when it was 40 degrees in my little shed in my summer house, today is quite comfortable. Okay, so sounds like everybody's had a good lunch. We all had a great session this morning. Lots of questions, lots of information, lots of things happening. And there's lots more to learn this afternoon as well. And remember, we're going to meet 2 people and then we're going to go and do the breakout rooms again. Remember to ask questions. You know, in the breakout rooms, do get involved, do get engaged. If you can unmute your microphone and speak, go for it. We'd really encourage you because it takes you out of your comfort zone. But once you've done it, and then you'll find out actually it's not that difficult. It's not that painful. As you can tell, I do it for a job, so I know how painful it isn't. But yeah. But we had good questions this morning, good interactions, and that's the really important part. So we're going to be exploring a little bit more this afternoon. Now, let me put the agenda up again quickly so you can see what we are actually doing. Bear with me. Here's the agenda. We've had our lunch. We're going to look at different roles. I believe we're looking at VFX and games, okay? And then we're going to do the speed meet. So we're going to meet 2 people. I'm going to introduce them in a minute, and then they're going to speak, and then we're going to go out into breakout rooms again. That's the really important part, okay? After, we've got a Q&A panel, and hopefully Saint will come back, as will Neve, who is with Saint. And then we can ask questions, and I believe some of the chaps from this morning will be hanging around as well. If we finish a little bit earlier, we finish a little bit earlier. It's not a problem. We want to keep the information relevant and exciting, so don't worry about that. Right, we've had lunch. The recording is back on. We're back in the room. Almost everyone is in. Those that are in, those that aren't. We're going to get moving. So and just as I say that, somebody else has come in. So what we're going to talk about now is different roles within VFX and games. I learned a lot this morning that I didn't know, and I'm ready to learn more because I said at the beginning of the day, this is an area that I don't really understand or know that well. As much as I always joke, I'd love to be a TV presenter or a comedian on TV. I haven't got the bravery to do either. This is as close as I'll ever get to presenting on TV and being a host. But I love it. But the point is I don't know this industry, so I'm learning a lot. And I know that students, we ran that poll this morning, and a lot of you said you know a little bit, but you really want to know more. And there has been a lot of information that's come across. Now, let's meet them. I'm going to stop talking in a short while, but we have got Emma, and I hope I'm going to pronounce your name right. I'm going to say I'm going with NG. So we've got Emma and NG, and NG's going to tell me in a second if I got that name right or horribly wrong. But yeah, I'm going to meet you both. But let's say hello to Emma first. Just a quick welcome, Emma. Hello and welcome. What did you have for lunch?
Hello, hi. That was me with the jacket potato and the comfort food. Yeah, it's all about the food in the Smith household.
Absolutely, damn right, which is good. Fantastic, brilliant. Nice to meet you. And we'll meet more of you in a second. NG, did I get your name right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Brilliant. I did get your name right. Okay, that's good. That's good. Well, nice to meet you. What did you have for lunch?
Nice to meet you too. I had a BLT.
You had a what? A BLT?
Yeah, classic.
Tell you what, I miss a good BLT. I gave up meat 2 years ago. There's certain things I do miss. Okay, brilliant. Well, look, you guys are here to talk to us, and I'm going to go with Emma first, and then NG will do you second. I have no idea exactly what you're going to speak about, because that's the whole point of today, is that exploration. And as I've said to students, keep your minds open and think of questions, because we're going to do the same as we did this morning. We're going to get them both to speak. and present, and then we're going to split into breakout rooms. Neve's going to do the same again. You're going to meet another one of the Pathway team, which is Kira. She's going to be in one room, I'll be in the other room. We'll do 10 minutes and then we'll switch. Okay, well, we'll see how long we've got, but yeah, just remember, keep those questions for the breakout rooms and do ask those questions. That's why these people are here, to share that information. So Emma, you're going to talk to us about different roles within the effects and games, but which bit do you look at, and do you have any slides? I know you do, because you asked me about screen sharing.
I do. So what I'm going to talk about today generally is just to talk about creative assembly and the kind of studio we are, kind of games we make, and the kind of roles that we have open at the moment, just to provide a bit of focus, because there are so many different roles within the industry that people can do. I think that people are still perhaps don't have full exposure or the full understanding of what it's like within the studio. So if you bear with me, I will share my screen. If I will share the right one.
You will, I know you will. And that's
how does that look?
Beautiful. Oh, that is amazing.
Lovely. Right.
Lovely.
Okay. Hopefully I should press the right buttons to move things on. So I say I'm Emma Smith. I'm Director of Talent and Social Impact at Creative Assembly. I've been at Creative Assembly for just over 13 years, and lucky for some, very unlucky for me. I joined the industry in 2009, and I kind of followed that usual career wiggly pathway, which doesn't always go in a straight line. I would say that progress isn't always linear. Sometimes you need to do different roles and have exposure to different things to really arrive in a role that you love. And I'm really lucky. I absolutely love the role that I have at Creative Assembly. And a part of that passion is meeting people who want to join the games industry, give them all the information they could possibly need, and try and help drive their passion through to taking up roles, making games, and delivering experiences that for people that last a lifetime. In terms of who we are as a studio, lots of people have heard about us, but perhaps they would have played our games and perhaps not joined everything up. But we were founded in 1987. We've got a development history that just goes on for decades and decades and decades. We're one of the largest and longest running game studios in the UK. Our stability is something that we absolutely love, and that's something that we talk about in the games industry, is just how stable it is. There are, when the last time I looked, I think it was yesterday, it was around about 2,600 jobs available in the UK games industry at this moment in time. Just over 2,000 game studios in the UK as well, and they're spread all over the place. So a lot of them are in the south of England and around London, but those opportunities are everywhere. And because of the way that the world is now, there's opportunities for people to work in a hybrid fashion or work remote as well. But the stability of that work is definitely there. Sega is our parent company. They purchased us in 2005. And we have around about between 800 and 900. This number fluctuates obviously because we're hiring, and then other people move on to new and exciting opportunities. But we have a studio in the UK which is based in Horsham, so nestled exactly between London and Brighton on the coast. And we also have a studio in Sofia in Bulgaria as well, which is just beautiful, where you can see the mountains and you can see into the city as well. The kind of games that we make, so a lot of people have heard about the Total War series. People think it's the historical franchise, but we've also worked with Games Workshop, and we've created fantasy titles with that for real-time strategy games. It's absolutely the crown and the jewel within the studio, but we also, it's given us opportunities to expand to make other kinds of games as well. Some people have played, I hope some of you have, played Alien Isolation in 2014. It really set the standard. It was a critical success. I still get really scared if I play the game. We did try run it with a VR headset, terrified, never again. but we also worked in partnership with 343, and we made Halo Wars 2, which was an absolute delight to be able to do. A couple of weeks ago, might have seen as well that we had an alpha set up for our new project. It's a first-person shooter called Ainos, and other unannounced projects which are so exciting. But I think I'll see a little dancing dot on my head if I even so much as mention them, because they're super secret, but also so exciting. But
so basically, Emma, you're teasing us that they're really exciting, but you can't tell us anything about it.
I can't. I wish I could.
Can you even tell us when they might even be available?
No.
Can't tell us that.
No,
Can't
I
just.
don't. Yep.
You have to kill us afterwards.
I would. I really would. But so if you're interested in finding out more about the games that we have available, check us out on social media. And we were in TwitchCon last week as well, in Amsterdam. You know, demonstrating and talking through Hyenas as well, which is a super fun game, very different to what we're used to making. So the opportunities to make different types of games and different styles, all housed within one studio, is a real opportunity for people. And obviously continue to work with Games Workshop, which is amazing. They also send us lots and lots of models to paint, which I love. So there's lots of different opportunities. Not only do we focus really well on the craft of making games, we also like to pride ourselves on being a good place to work. In fact, we want to be the best place to work. And gamesindustry.biz, we've been really fortunate, but we work very hard on this anyway. We've won the best places to work accolade for 6 years in a row. And that's something that we're very proud of. We care very much about our developers and about the way that you have, how you have your life within work, but also your balance and your well-being, and provide amazing career opportunities and chances to give back to the community as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there. The kind of roles that we have live at CA at the moment in terms of art, we're looking for lighting artists, environment artists, concept artists in terms of environment, but we do have opportunities for people to really focus in on characters or props, and of course real-time VFX artists, which Max, you mentioned earlier on as well. That's a real amazing opportunity where we see people moving across from film into game and back and forth. For VFX artists that come into games, being able to work with our programmers and work within the team to create those real-time effects that really play into the experience that you're having as a player. I mean, I've just taken back to Alien Isolation and the effects that we made for making the gun, and the way that it fired, and the way that, you know, that heat pulled back through and burnt through some of the pages that with the makeshift gun as well. Everything from the engineering side of things, without being able to work with new cutting edge technology, and sometimes moving past the technology we have and trying to move into something brand new, and work with new software, new techniques, and work in a really agile way to just keep moving that forward is just a delight. For me, being able to find people who have that passion and that enthusiasm to come in and make those amazing experiences, I don't ever want to do anything else. It's just brilliant. And what I have missed over the last 2 years was being able to walk through the studio and see people creating those experiences on their screens and asking them questions, and listening to them talk about it and really come alive whilst they're doing it. I also missed being able to walk through project areas and seeing pieces of concept art come off the screen and be printed up on paper and up onto the walls that create this brilliant environment for people to continue creating in other ways. So the art that we create isn't just for our players, we create it for ourselves to make an amazing environment to be able to do that as well. And I say that there are so many different opportunities. We also have hard surface artists, again, watching people create their own personal projects and seeing them appear on ArtStation or seeing them in portfolios when we're meeting students as well. It's just brilliant. I mean, I can't say enough about games. It's just great.
Can I ask a question though? Because earlier on the first slide it says you're the director of talent.
That's right.
And just to be clear on that, so students understand, you're the director of talent. So your job is, well, you look after the team that brings people on board, that employs people, that goes out searching for those students or those people that have the abilities that you want within your company. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I always say to students, to come into days like today is really important because of the people that you're going to meet, because it could be quite possible that in the future, if you are interested in this, and this is what excites you, that you may be finding your way to this company, to be in front of Emma, and she is the director of talent on her team. And it's days like today that you can then reference back and say, well, how do I know that I want to work for Creative Assembly? Well, because I tell you what, I was on a day with Escape Studios and I heard Emma, the director of talent, speak, and it really excited me. And this is why I'm now here pursuing this opportunity. So remember to make use of that and to ask those questions later on. But this is the whole point of coming to the sessions and meeting people like Emma, because you're hearing about it, but also you need to use this later on to your advantage. Isn't that fair to say, Emma? That's exactly what you would do, right?
Yeah, and being able to go to events like EGX and RES, that we've always recommended people come and meet us as well. Forming those personal connections are always really useful. And it is about those connections, but also don't be afraid to talk about and show any work that you might have as well, even if it's just a sketchbook that you carry around with you. Being able to get some feedback from people who are artists themselves, or people who know what good looks like, you'll be able to take on that feedback and just create that ladder of success where you take that information, absorb it, try something new, move your body of work forward and just keep improving the quality, and also finding out what your individual style is like as well. And being able to get that kind of feedback is really valuable. And also it helps build your confidence levels as well, learning to speak to people that you've never met before, that you've probably got a lot in common with as well. That's something that I found when I joined the games industry, having worked outside of that just being surrounded by people who have similar interests really made me feel like I could start talking about things that were important to me or I found interesting, and it sparks my own personal creativity off in other ways as well. So it is just, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and just making those first kind of, the gentle, like, hello, hi, my name is, I saw you at. Those are really useful. But we also running a free student conference with gamesindustry.biz, the GI Academy. We set that up in 2020 so that students could still have access to our developers to get to know us. Obviously, other game studios get involved in this as well, but it's free, it's virtual. We recognise not everybody can afford to travel into London or get the time away to do it, or the parents be able to accompany them and take them to these things. But being able to attend that event is also incredibly useful, because we have talks, reviews, Q&A sessions, and just drop-in sessions, and it's run through Discord as well. So it's a really familiar platform to be able to access people in the industry.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. And saying the last thing is just have a look on our website. Just check us out on social media. I haven't mentioned it yet, but we also have Ice Cream Wednesdays because as developers, we like to eat a lot. And I'm sure other people can agree to that as well. So it is that whole environment. And I'm always in awe of the people that I work with, but I'm always especially inspired by people and speaking to students. And we work with students as young as 4 and 5 in schools about their creativity and their desire to make games, and people have lots of fun doing so.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. Remember, Questions. Think of questions for Emma about everything that we've spoken about and more, because we are going to go out into breakout rooms in a while. But thank you for putting that together and showing us that as well. Really interesting to hear about how many opportunities are available in the industry as well. Remember, we learned this morning that this is a huge industry in the UK. I didn't know that. Maybe students, because you are here and you're interested in it, maybe you did know that. But it's great to hear it again, because I think a lot of the time we are hearing, and I work with students a lot, and we always hear about, oh, there's not many opportunities, you know, it's difficult to get jobs, or it's difficult to get opportunities, and it's difficult to get into this industry and that industry. Actually, when you look deeper, maybe it's not as difficult as you think, and it's about doing the right research, finding the right information, and listening to the right people. And you've heard it here today, there are lots of opportunities available. Remember that this is something as well that wasn't around in for my generation. It was very different, and so for your generation, you've grown up with this, and it is right for you. It's more like people at your age and your generation are more likely to go into these kind of industries, and there's a lot of opportunity for you. So it's really custom made for you. So take those opportunities. Right, so we met Emma. Now we're going to meet Angie. Angie, welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. Excited to hear about you as well. And I'm going to ask, I didn't ask you before, but do you have any slides to share?
I do. I am trying to share my screen now. How do you share this? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Okay.
Do you have any videos with sound?
Yes, I do. Is that a problem?
No, not at all. Just make sure you click the share sound box, you know, where you go to share screen and it comes up.
Oh, yeah.
You pick and then just click share sound. There you
Thanks.
go. No worries. Take it away.
Okay, I'm having troubles sharing my screen because of the content, the sensitivity of the content. I'm gonna have to run it by the systems and get back. Is that okay?
That is
it will take a
fine.
couple of minutes.
Don't
Cool,
worry.
thank you.
Absolutely fine. So whilst NG pops out, have we got any questions? Because we can use this time to speak to Emma, ask questions, whilst we let NG get sorted out and concentrate on that.
I will forewarn people, if they don't ask me questions, I'll ask them questions.
Brilliant. I like it. Oh, I do like that. I mean, a question I have for you is, you are director of talent. Obviously, you look after the HR side of things. You look after the people side of things. Were you ever, was this an industry that you were interested in before, or did you just kind of happen across it because of the skills that you have in HR and talent that just brought you this way?
Yeah, I mean, always play games. My parents bought me a Commodore +4, so you might want to Google that, kids.
Remember that.
When I was about, I think it was about 5 or 6, and yeah, I was playing games that were pretty much just pixels, giant pixels on a screen.
With a tape that you had to put in the machine.
Oh my god, yeah, and it would take so long for a game to load. And you know, I was brought up in rural South Wales, right? So the games industry and the careers advice that I got was really limited. It was limited to the knowledge and information that the teachers in school could provide me with, or the kind of jobs that, you know, your parents might have, or people that you know. So, you know, playing on a Commodore +4 or Sega Master System, if throughout my teens playing Sonic the Hedgehog, which is really ironic that I work for Sega now. And the reason why I don't have any feeling in this thumb was pressing the B button down always on a pad. To arrive in the games industry was my only regret, is that I didn't do that sooner.
Okay.
Because I didn't know when I was younger how to get into the games industry. I didn't even know that those jobs existed. For me, it was just this thing that people did far away in America or something. It wasn't in the UK. I didn't realize how easy it could have been if I'd spoken to the right people at the right time. And it's just it's a bit of luck and a bit of drive. And I saw the job advertised at Creative Assembly and saw the kind of games that they made, and I was like, that is somewhere I need to be immersed in. I need to be around people that are doing what they love and being paid to do it, and I can do the thing that I'm already qualified to be able to do and see what happens. And I was really lucky. I had a really great boss who saw what I could be capable of, and I've really thrived since I've been in the games industry, because it is that creative environment that if you think you can do one role and somebody thinks you'd be good at something else, they'll help you find your way of doing that. So it's been a joy.
Brilliant. Right, let's see if NG, oh, there we go, perfect, we can see it. There we go, love it.
I've just printed out a huge Paddington fan in our house. My 7-year-old daughter's a big fan of Paddington, as is I.
I think lots of, I'm pretty sure there's lots of people. We saw a bit of Paddington this morning already. NG, are you there? Can we hear you?
So sorry. I had to run to the systems and fix it and then come back. Sorry about that.
No worries. Brilliant. You're
Good.
back. So let's go for it.
I am back, yes. Right. Right, so hi everyone, I'm Angie. I'm a talent partner at Framestore. And today I'll be talking about the careers in the creative industries and more specifically at Framestore. I don't think you've heard of us, but I am very certain that you've seen our work. So I'm gonna start by playing a video to show you the kind of projects that we work on at Framestore. So now I hope you know us more now. So at Framestore, we've won multiple Oscars for our films, but we don't just work on films, we also work on advertisements, immersive, episodic, so TV shows, and a variety of other things. So what is VFX? You probably have heard of two terms. You've heard of special effects and visual effects. Special effects is the effects that is being done physically on set during the production of a film, while visual effects are the effects that are being done not physically, but digitally throughout the post-production phase of the film. And what we do at Framestore is only VFX, visual effects. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to be playing you behind the scenes of Avengers Endgame to show you the process that we've went through to make it. And I'll be talking about the different teams that we've got at Framestore and what each of them do. So first of all, we need our concept art team. The concept art team do the 2D designs of the environment and the characters. The reason they start with 2D is because with 2D, you can easily apply the feedback and you can easily do the changes. But once the 2D designs are finalized by the director, then we can move to model these 2D designs into 3D. So that's where our modeling team comes. Our modeling team models, as you can see, the bones, the muscles, models the character, and they need to study human anatomy, so biology, to understand how to actually model it to look like it does in real life. Besides having our modeling team, we have our creature effects team. Our creature effects team does the hair and the fur, and sometimes they take part in making the clothes wrinkle or animate in some of the shots. Over there, the scene that you can see is completely done in CG. A lot of you might think it was actually parts of it is real life, but it's fully done in CG, and that's what our modeling team works on. They also work on stuff like that. So as you can see, the costume that was used by all the superheroes in the film, it was never made in real life. It was fully CG'd. So it was also done by our modeling team. So the only part that was used of this actor is literally his head and his neck. The rest of it was all CG'd. Besides having a creature effects team, we have special effects team, or what we call the effects team. The effects team, their work is to make things explode. So they do the fire, the explosions, the wind, anything like that. And the kind of background that they come from is not just creative, but also a science background, because there's a lot of coding and a lot of understanding of computer science that goes into this. So yeah, as you can see, Hulk is fully CG'd, it's fully done by our modeling team. And you can see there the effects that's done by our effects team. So over here, we can see the details that they worked on to animate Hulk. One of the struggles that they face is that the actor, half of his face, half of the muscles of his face act differently to the second half. So it was a big challenge actually animating him. But they used the special cameras, they used AI to track how he actually acts and then generate it. As you can see over there on the screen. The animation team, which actually animates what you can see on the screen, they use a lot of references from real life. So they ask the actor to actually act what Hulk is doing, and then they use that as a reference. And then the last, we've got our compositing and our lighting team. So our compositing and lighting team, they work on putting what was shot in real life with our 3D work, and they put that together. Most of them come from creative backgrounds, and they have really good understanding of how the light affect different materials, and most of them enjoy a lot of photography as well. But I think it's really important to mention that a lot of the people who worked on this project did not study arts or creative subject, did not even study animation or VFX. Some of them even studied literature or architecture, and they still ended up working on this project. So it's very important to remind you all that coming into the creative industry, and more specifically the VFX industry, you don't need to have a degree in VFX. It's all about having the right portfolio and the passion. And to remind you all as well, if you don't want to be an artist, if you don't see yourself being a creative, there are so many other roles that you can do within the industry or within our studio. So you can work in production, and that is basically being a producer or a production assistant or production coordinator. We also have the PR and marketing team, if you're into that. We have IT support, engineering, systems, the people who helped me earlier when I was having my struggles. We have the finance team, we have the legal team, and we have the talent, HR, and the recruitment team, which I am part of. Now you might be wondering, how can I get into Framestore? So we've got our Launchpad program that includes apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are paid, and they are designed for people or for students who just finished school, but they don't want to go into university. They can come and they can work with us, and we will be giving them the training and they can stay with us. The other one would be the internship. The internship is designed for people who have studied either on their own or at university VFX or animation, for a couple of years, and they want to get that experience into the industry for the first time. So we do offer also full paid internships for them. We've got our runner scheme, and that is what's offered for people after they graduate from learning the course. And we've got our trainees, and that is basically offering training, and that is offered for literally everyone. I also forgot to mention that a frame store is the biggest VFX house in Europe, and we have offices in London, we have offices in India, in Australia, in Canada, and in the US. So we've got around like 3,500 employees in total. Very, very international. And thank you, everyone. I hope you have a lot of questions for me. There's so much to tell you, but I need to stick to time. So ask your questions, and there's so much more information to give. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And we are going to go into breakout rooms to ask questions. And it's interesting again to see there that we're talking about an industry. And I say this to students all the time, don't just look at the industry and the main names and just think that they only do that one specific thing. Look at the other things they do. Look, we have Emma, who's a director of talent. So we're looking at, the people side, looking at the HR side, looking at how you get people in that have the right skills, or maybe just have the right qualities that can be taught the technical skills to be able to take the industry forward, or to take the company forward, and look at all of those other job roles that were mentioned by Engie in that presentation. And you need to think about that, because even if you are interested in the industry, but maybe not on the creative side, but more on the other side of things, you can still have a place. And that's what makes it exciting to go to work. So think about these things. So if we are going to have questions. Remember the warning, if you don't have questions, Emma's got questions for you, which I'm quite intrigued about. But we are going to go into breakout rooms. I'm going to check with Neve, as I believe has already told me that we are ready to go into rooms. But before we go in, this morning we met Kerry and Izzy, part of the team, who they were managing breakout rooms. And we're going to meet a different member of the Pathway CTM team, and her name is Kira. And I'm going to say, welcome, Kira. How are you? Give us a little hello and a welcome, and tell us what you do at Pathway CTM, please.
Thanks, Max. Yes, my name is Kira. So I'm one of the account managers here at Pathway CTM. So I work on the side of all of our employer partnership brands. So with companies that you have here today, lots of different ones in different industries. And my job is to work with them to create as many opportunities and offer you as many opportunities as possible. So that's my role. It's lovely to meet you all.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thank you for that, Kira. And thank you for giving up your time to go into the breakout rooms. Now, we are going to go into the rooms. I believe we're going to do 10 minutes, or let's say 9-10 minutes in each room. Neve is going to be doing all of the background work and keeping it in time. It's my job and Kira's job to make sure that we know when we're moving. But ask questions, just get involved. Look, you've got another two great speakers in front of you. We are doing Q&A afterwards as well, so there will be more chance, because Saint has come back and we're going to ask him questions as well. But Neve, if you're ready, do you want to put us into rooms, please? Don't forget to record, Kira.
All right, perfect.
Right, hopefully we're all back. I can see still a few people coming back into the main room, which is fantastic. We've just had questions, but we've also been rejoined by quite a few people that we've met throughout the day, which is brilliant. So we've just had the 2 rooms. We had lots of questions, lots more information, and there's going to be more coming along. And I want to say thank you to Kira, who has just given up some of her time in the day to come and help host that breakout room. Kira, just give us a quick overview. How did you find your rooms? Lots of good questions, lots of interesting information.
Yeah, lots of really interesting information, lots of really, really good questions to both Emma and NG, specifically about what they can do to sort of appear as a really good candidate and what they can do to sort of get in and get interested, even if they're not necessarily studying a creative subject, but how to get into that and sort of show their passion, how they can make that shine through. So yeah, lots of motivation to get into like a role. It's really, really good.
This is what I'm loving. Thank you so much for that, Kira. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you for your time to come on and help us host that breakout room. What I've been learning as we've been going along is that there's lots of ways in, there's lots of opportunities that exist and are available. And that's what we really need to understand and hold on to, because there's not just one path, there's not just one thing, there's not just one way. There's lots of different things that you can do. And that's why coming to these sessions is really, really great. Now, we're into the home stretch. We've got the last half an hour looking at everything that we thought about this morning. You know, we met Saint this morning, and he took us through lots of slides and showed us lots of information, and opened my eyes to what's real and what's not real on TV and in film. And then we met the 2 Jamies and Michael, and then this afternoon we've met Emma and Engie. Different people from different areas talking about different things. They all overlap and they all interlink and they all intertwine, but they've got different experiences and different things. Now we're in the formal Q&A session. Hit me with questions, put them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself if you want, but put them in the chat box. What questions have we got for any of them? And if it is to a specific person, can you put in the chat who it's specifically going to with the questions that we've got? The one thing I do want to do is before we, you start putting your questions in the chat box. I'll manage that. But Saint, you're back. And I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. I noticed that you were part of the session for most of the day. Now, were you able to listen in onto certain things? And did you pick up any information that was great that you didn't get to speak about this morning? Is there anything else that you would add on top of that?
Yeah, and I think this will probably come up in this Q&A as well. And I think one thing that probably was missing from my session, as I crammed as much in as I could, and that is there is a common thread here, and that is that the screen industries is a very people industry. The creative industries tend to be about people interacting and working and helping each other out. And throughout today, we've heard stories about people going, the last I heard was Emma sort of saying how she was a boss encouraged her, and I think that's the same throughout. You know, when you work in the screen industries, ask for help and you'll get it, and people love working and interacting together. So I think that's probably something that I picked up throughout the day, that it's very much a people industry. So do approach going into the screen industry not just about the technical expertise you need, but also about being that kind of person who works really well in teams and really enjoys working with other people.
Fantastic. And there's always that thread that goes through. Whenever we do days like today, and when you meet different people from different parts of the same industry, what you're seeing is that there is a common thread that goes through. And a lot of the sessions that we do, and a lot of you, I can see that are on, have been on some other sessions in different industries. What I see is that there's always that thread, and it's about people. And that people element is important. What are your strengths? What are your characteristics? What is your personality? What do you bring? How can you work with other people? Technical knowledge is important. Yes, it always is, but that can be taught by certain companies. And we've heard today that stuff can be taught. But there is always great to have an interest. And we've had some students talking about the things that they do, or asking what should they be doing. Now, Michael, I know that earlier you were talking about different things, and you had some links that you were going to share with us. If I can ask you, whilst students are putting questions in the chat box, are you able to put those links in the chat box? And if you can, just go ahead and do it for us so everyone can take those. What I am going to do, though, is whilst Michael does the links, I'm going to go to the first Jamie Floodgate. And I'm going to ask you a question. I know we touched on it briefly, but what does your day-to-day look like then? So with what you do what you do, and you explained earlier that most days it's probably spending time working on producing 5 to 6 seconds of animation. But what does your day look like? Do you have meetings with people, or is it just you on your own? Do you get to do different things? What does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, so 70% of the day is animating. So it, you know, it is what it says on the tin. But for today, for example, it's the first day of a new episode. So this morning we had the episode launch. So we went through with the director and the animation director and the rest of our team, the entire episode, every single shot, and the director kind of laid out her vision for what each shot needs to be. If there are any technical changes here and there, kind of, it's all about motivation of characters, what they're feeling, how to express, how they see it as a vision. So that goes on for about 2 hours per episode. And then you go away, you have a think about your shots, you start blocking them, and then maybe in 3 or 4 days' time, your animation director will take a look at your initial ideas, and then you talk through those. Once you get to sort of 2 weeks in the process, you have a halfway review. Again, so you show the work you've done, the animation director and the director say, yes, they like that, no, this needs changing. And then you go on and you have another 2 weeks to do that. So interspersed with that particular 4-week period of time, you'll have fixes to do from a previous episode. So if you've animated something and lighting and comp have seen that maybe there's an intersection in your animation where a hand is going through a body, or a foot goes through the floor, or something like that, they'll pick up on that, and then you have to then go and change that. So you're probably working on kind of 2.5 episodes at a time, like fixing old ones. Sometimes, and obviously because of the pandemic, if Ben Wishaw, who does Paddington, couldn't do a voiceover for a particular shot, you might have a scratch one done, and then when he comes to do it and does it slightly differently, you might have to go back into that shot and redo the lip sync on the animation. So as I say, yeah, I'd say 70-80% of the time it is animating, and then you obviously have the meetings and the fixes and everything to go through from that. And obviously, being a senior animator, I'm responsible for helping out the juniors as well. So some of my time is looking after them, sort of going through their shots and making sure that they kind of know what they're doing.
Fantastic. Sorry, it's really good to see that breakdown of what the day looks like. So it gives you a better idea of what actually happens and what is being done, because we can talk about these and sometimes it's difficult to paint a picture of what does that person actually do, what does the day-to-day look like, because it sounds exciting and glamorous, but how exciting and glamorous is it? But remember, if these are the things that you're enjoying doing already and you can take that into work, then it makes everything so much easier. I am going to ask pretty much everybody this question, because that's what's going to show you what the different people do and what it's all about. And again, you will see common themes, but do think about questions that you've got. I'm going to go to the second Jamie, Jamie Stokes. Because you do something slightly different to the first Jamie, but what does your day look like? Is it similar, or are there differences to it?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but probably mainly because I'm a junior and not a senior. So most of my work is I get my shots in a list, and then it's just about working through those shots sort of one by one. There are sort of meetings sort of at the start of the week as like a team catch up, where we lay out who's doing what, who's on what show, what the priorities are. So you make sure you do your shots in the right order, because there may be one shot may need to get out today or in a week compared to a shot in like 3 weeks. But most of my day is probably just working on shots, sort of independently. And then if I get stuck or I run into issues or have questions, I can have a meeting with my lead, who will take a look and sort of point me in the right direction again. And then, yeah, if there's on some projects, we do sort of daily meetings where other artists sort of put work up for review and reviews it together. And I'm sometimes involved in those, but yeah, sort of depends on the project.
Another thing I want to talk about as well, because you said it, you mentioned see, first Jamie is senior, you're junior, but it sounds like you're still given a lot of responsibility, because that word junior can be misleading. Just because that's in there, it doesn't mean that you don't have a lot of responsibility. It doesn't mean that your role isn't important. It actually still is. It's really integral to the projects that you work on. So you are given a certain level of responsibility. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think it'll vary per studio, but I'd say a reasonable average for a junior is sort of 1 to maybe 3 years experience. So you can get juniors who sort of, they're junior, but they've got sort of a year's experience, which they sort of know what they're doing to their level. And yeah, it varies, but I do get a lot of sort of independent responsibility for my shots, and I'm sort of responsible for pushing them through to the next step, and then they get reviewed. But I sort of have to check them myself, and it's my responsibility that they're working to my eye. And then if there's any notes that come back from a senior, then I'll deal with those. But yeah, you do get a lot of responsibility, and you do get to sort of work directly with other people on your shots. And you sort of, at least where I am, you sort of chat to a supervisor or a lead if you need to, or if you have questions, or they'll come to you. But yeah, you can just do your own work and yeah, sort of be responsible for it.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thank you for that, Jamie. Appreciate it. Michael, thank you for putting the links into the chat box. Students, have a look at those links, take them away after the session, or make sure that you can access them before we finish, and take those links away, do a copy and paste or whatever you need to, put them into a Word document. But Michael, if we were to think of your day to day as well, again, you work in a slightly different role. What does yours look like? Again, I'm assuming you do have responsibility. I know you do, but so what does your day look like?
Well, I'm a mid-level 3D artist, so I guess like in between a junior and a senior. So I guess it's slightly different. So I still sort of manage the occasional piece of work, but most of my day at XR, I'm working on art from 9 to 5. That's what I'm doing. I'm creating levels. I'm working on weapons. I'm working on vehicles. At Playground, it was slightly different. Obviously, a much larger team. So a lot of that was obviously work with outsourced vendors. So a lot of it is giving feedback, receiving feedback. There's a lot of iteration, working on something, going to the art director, you know, as opposed to like a smaller studio, I have a lot more creative control. And obviously I go to my lead, I go to the director, and, you know, I said, I'm given a lot more control. So my day nowadays is just working on levels all day. It's, for me, perfect. Yeah. So that's pretty much, yeah, working on like set dressing, lighting, texturing, making materials. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's fantastic. That's pretty good. And it's clear to see that you do enjoy what you do. In fact, it's clear to see that everybody that's spoken, you do enjoy the industry you're in, and you enjoy what you do. And that's important as well, to find that right area for students. You need to do these things and try them out to find which one it is that you really enjoy. That you won't always massively enjoy everything you do, but it takes you to where you want to be. And there's a couple of questions coming in about that. So I'm going to ask Saint, in your terms, what does your day-to-day look like? Because you spoke this morning at length about the industry, but what does your day-to-day look like? What do you get involved in? What don't you get involved in?
Well, I think it's important for, you know, and this is maybe something for all those people who are looking for either university courses or internships. It's important to keep on top of what's happening, because technology moves so fast, the software changes, different sort of movies or films come out, and you've got to keep up to, and the bar of excellence goes up and up and up. And if you think about some of the ropey TV shows that used to happen in the 80s and maybe 90s, compared with some of the great stuff coming out from, you know, on TV or Netflix or Amazon Prime, whatever, the quality's gone up. So for me, I have to make sure I keep up to date with what's changing in technology, what's new movies and games have come out, and make sure that the stuff that we teach reflects that. Because if we keep our, you know, if we ran the same degree course, which is 3 years, again and again and again, then it soon gets out of date. So that's most of my job is spent making sure that I'm speaking to industry, and my finger is on some kind of pulse about what's happening now, but also what's going to be happening in 3 years' time. Because if you were a student on a degree course and you're just joining this September, it's going to be 3 years before you leave. So the industry is going to be very much changed, and we have to be, in step with the industry and make sure that we know what's happening around the corner. So Michael and the Jamies, we've talked to them before, and we want to know what's going to happen so that we can reflect it. And that's what all good universities and all good colleges should be doing.
Fantastic. Good information again. I'm going to ask you a question. Sajjad asked this question, and if any of, I'm going to ask Saint, but if any of you others also have input on this, then jump in afterwards. How long does it take roughly? How long does it roughly take from getting dedicated in an area to working in this field to the time of getting your first job, assuming you work consistently? Did that make sense?
Yeah, it did. And some people think education is a bit like a conveyor belt. You step onto a course and then you spend 3 years partying and having a laugh, and then at the other end, magically, you're that person who gets a job. And unfortunately, it's not like that. So half the answer to Sajjad's story is that it will depend on your dedication and motivation, because whatever course you go on, you'll have to put a lot of work into it. These are areas where people don't just emerge talented, they have to really work at it. And that's why a degree is 3 years, by the way, because it usually takes 3 years to get really good or good enough for you to get a job. Apprenticeships are a bit different. They're usually a year or more, and they're different because you're working within a company. But nevertheless, it takes years. Nobody should be scared of that. The rewards are so, as you've seen today, are so good that you should sort of think carefully about how you're going to get into the industry. But 3 years is a good run at it, and you'll always be learning. I'm sure Jamie and Michael and Emma and Angie will all say that they're learning every day. They keep learning. You don't stop learning.
It's very true. It is one of those processes that you will always be learning and you never stop learning. And that's the whole point, because we're opening you up to as students to different options in different areas earlier than perhaps would have been a few years ago. And rather than waiting for you to get into an industry or maybe into the wrong role and then finding out about them, we're helping you find out about them now. But also remember, one thing I will say, if I put my old man hat on, I'm 41 now and I've done several different jobs, and life is still very long. I'm not going to retire till I'm 60. Well, I'm going to retire earlier, but it should be 68. So it's still a long time. So that's longer than my career so far. And for you, these are journeys that you go on and you acquire new skills and you keep going on them. And if I was to ask Michael the same sort of thing, like where you look at where you are now and you look at where your interest started years ago, has it taken you a while to get there? And do you still think there's more to learn and further to go?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with what Saint said. Like it's a constant process. I have no doubt that my career will probably look completely different. Not completely. I'll still be in the games industry, hopefully. When I'm, 30 to 40. I'm in my early 20s now. I started 3D modeling when I was 17, 18. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was at university, I was said, right, I'm going to be a weapons artist. I'm going to be a weapons artist. So I made weapons all day. That's all I did. I was just making weapons. Then we did our group project and we said, oh, hey, there's no lighting artist. So I had to learn lighting art, and then I got good at lighting art. I found I really enjoy lighting art. And then I started applying to lighting art positions, and I started, the more you learn, the more you find you enjoy, the more you do, you might find something, wow, okay, this is all I want to do. Some people just want to sculpt rocks all day. I know artists who are really good at sculpting rocks because all they want to do is sculpt rocks, and they're on the geology team at Playground or at Rockstar or wherever. You might find that you're more of a generalist. It changes constantly. And like I said, when you're working on your portfolio, you might find something else. Like I said, I've got like 5 projects going that I don't think that most of them will be completed, but I'm learning as I'm doing them. I'm just playing around, I'm having fun, and I'm finding what else I might enjoy. And that will affect my career.
Brilliant advice. Good to hear as well. I'm going to ask Jamie Floodgate as well, because correct me if I'm wrong, but your route into the industry was slightly different. If I remember right, you did graphic design first, then you went and did something else, and then you ended up in the industry that you're in now. But what you were doing before, all of those skills and all that time that you spent learning is still so valid for what you do today, right? It wasn't wasted. It's all helped you get to where you are, right?
Yeah, so I'd say mainly soft skills that I'd learned over the years have really put me in good stead. So, you know, as I said, like I did a graphic design degree in about 2000 and then decided I didn't want to do that, opened a clothes shop, did that for a few years, went into fashion and retail buying and things like that, and ended up in music education before deciding I wanted to do animation about 4 years ago. And kind of the things that, you know, the animation I had no experience in, but the timekeeping, the management side, now that I've become a senior, all that stuff, all the kind of my management skills and my people skills are all now starting to come into fruition that I'd learned before then. So, you know, I am able to pick from previous roles and previous experience to put it into this role. And, you know, kind of, and all it was for the last 4 or so years for me was kind of balancing out the animation side of it. So I become more of a well-rounded, you know, animator and, you know, animator in person, I guess. And, you know, and there will be a point in time for me now where, you know, kind of going into lead roles and management roles, it won't faze me because I have all that experience beforehand. So yeah, everything that I've done has kind of led me up to this point in soft skills mainly, and now it's kind of bringing up the hard skills.
Fantastic. Soft skills are so important, and they're things that you will learn, and that's what we then reference as transferable skills, that whatever you're doing, it's giving you a skill and you're learning it and you're using it. Make sure that you understand where else it can apply and where you can take that to. And the students who, there's a lot of students on this session today who are have just finished their A-levels and moving on. Think about all the work you did through your A-levels, that project work, that coursework, those different things that you might do outside of college or school. Think of those skills that it's giving you that transfer to all these different areas, you know, that teamwork, that ability to communicate, to listen, but to also be able to get your ideas across. And maybe it is working under pressure or to specific time management. I know my time management is awful, but I deliver to deadline, but the way I manage my time to get to deadline is awful. Okay, so, you know, how do you do it? What's your difference? Those skills are really important to know about, not just the technical stuff. I'm going to bring Engie in for a second because Engie is slightly different and the role that Engie does, but within that company. Engie, when we look at your day-to-day and the skills that you have in your job, what would you say is that you need in your area? And then what is it that you go and look for when you look for people that want to come and work in your industry?
I think my role is very different, and it's not just different to who's here, but it's also different because it's recently been created in the industry. So my role is specifically outreach and inclusion. So I don't even look at CVs or portfolios or anything. My job is literally to make sure that the workplace is diverse and it's inclusive to the people who are diversely working here. And it's mostly going to schools, telling them that we've got something called VFX industry and you can be part of it, because sadly not many people know about us. They don't know what we do. But also going to maybe disadvantaged areas in the country where we could offer free training, or we could give them workshops to be able to discover what they like within the VFX industry, things like that. But that also includes, as I was saying earlier, making the workplace inclusive, starting new initiatives. And it's kind of a hard one, to be honest, because it's a very new role to the industry. It doesn't have a structure to it. I was the first to get this role at Framestore. It never existed before me. So it doesn't have a structure to it. It's all about, you know, taking it day by day, having that passion to make a change in the industry and just keep pushing forwards.
Brilliant. And the outreach side is what I used to do at my previous company. It's how I've ended up at Pathway CTM for students, so that you understand I was doing similar. I had to go out and advertise my industry and attract young people into it. Now, Engie, when you think about that work that you do and you go into potentially go into schools and you work with students, what are the main things that you ask them to think about, to reinforce, or is it around those soft skills, or is there certain technical things that you want them to be looking at and thinking about?
I think they need to be thinking about both. So transferable skills, that includes being able to be a good team player, having flexibility, being resilient. It's very important to know how to take the feedback and respond to it. So all of these transferable skills are really important, but also specialist skills are just as important. And the specialist skills are required more and more as they progress, as they get older, and as it's sort of closer to them to start applying for jobs. In terms of specialist skills, it really depends on the role they're going for, and that's where their research comes in handy. So if they know they're interested in the VFX industry, They need to start researching what are the different areas within the VFX industry. And then once they know what area they want to go into, then this is when they start researching what software they should be learning, how much they should be developing in each software, where to publish their work, because there are so many different platforms in which they can showcase themselves. So it's really important to also use the right one and then link them all to your CV or to maybe your LinkedIn profile. It's also really important to approach the recruiters and ask your questions, ask them what they'd like to see in your portfolio, what are the specialist or transferable skills they are looking to see in your CV.
Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, let's move back to the technical side now. Julie's asked a really good question. Is there, and whoever has the answer to this can jump in, is there any automation in a lot of the processes that you use in your different companies? For example, have you built up templates that you reuse to speed up that creative process?
I can jump in on that.
Go for it, Jamie.
Yeah, it depends on what sort of level of automation you're talking about. I think one of the things that we have, automation of sort of the really manual stuff you don't want to be touching as an artist, like naming of files, where those files live in a folder structure on the computers. When you hit the button to move your camera from one piece of software to the other, do you have to do that manually, or is it just a single click button that's going to export all these things and move them to a different location? When you're sharing things with other people, again, is that just like an automated system that's going to move it? Those are the really useful sort of day-to-day automations. In terms of like libraries of assets and things, I know for us in VFX, there's all sorts of recurring tasks that come up again and again, like snow, dust, fire. If you've built a model of a car, you might just need to put that car in the background of another show, and all that sort of stuff builds and builds as you do more shows, and you just build up this library of techniques, tools, scripts, that sort of thing. So for sure.
Brilliant.
I might jump in on this one as well. Just in regards to automation and having tools authored in-house. So, for Forza, for example, we had a team of guys say, hey, look, we want a foliage tool, we want a roads tool, we want to just be able to make our roads, make our materials, and just have it go along what we call like a spline, which is like a curve. So we have, if you have a forest, for example, all those trees aren't placed by hand one by one. It would have a technical artist or an engineer go in and say, right, we want to populate a forest here, and we're going to have the trees sort of taper out into ground cover and then onto the road. That would be a tool. And then that would give the artist the creative control, say, right, I want the forest to be this big, I want it to taper out here. So like the games industry is full of little tools like that might be spoke to a single studio. I know artists who make their own tools for their own personal work and say, hey, I want a texturing generator that like does perfect rust every time, so I'm going to make my own rust generator and then put it onto a car I'm making, and that will be used across all my personal projects. That's quite common practice across like studios and individuals.
Yeah, I'd just like to jump in as well and say that you might have seen some of these sort of AI software around Dolly and Mid-Journey being two, and some people get very worried and think everything will be automated and the robots will take over. But the good news is that the creative industries is probably going to be the last place where the robots take over, because it's creative, it needs that individual spark. So I would just sort of don't believe the doom and gloom people who sort of say all these things are automated. There'll always be a place for someone to put that little bit of detail into a picture or make that movement in a game work just perfectly. So I think that's one thing. And the secondly, that the screen industries have always innovated. They've always taken whatever technology is and used it for their own purposes. And just like Michael and Jamie were saying, you could be best friends with an artist if you're a techie who can help them by designing a script or some programming or an app to make their lives easier. And there's so much work out there for those technical people as well.
Just to say, like that Mid-Journey and AI generated images, for me personally has done. I'm not a concept artist. I don't do digital sort of matte paintings or anything like that. So I want to get a tone, I want to get a mood. I'll run it through Midjourney and say, hey, what's my lighting going to look like in this specific sort of forest scene, for example, and that cuts out all the work for me. So as an artist, that's just. But you always need like Saint said, you need an individual to take it that step further, to have that creative eye and tell the AI what to do.
Quite a good answer to that. That was a very good question to ask, because that's brought out a lot of information, which is brilliant. Right. Do we have any last questions for any of our guests?
I've got one.
Go for it, Saint.
Yeah, I've got one, especially for, I guess, for NG, but anybody else can answer as well. I don't know if Emma's still here, but that, you know, today you students and young people have met lots of people, and we've been here performing, if you like, and you know, I'm quite used to being on Zoom and I'm quite used to speaking to people. You can get the idea that somehow you have to be an extrovert to work in this industry, and I just wanted to bring this up and actually ask NG to make it clear that actually, you know, at Escape Studios we have lots and lots of students who are very, very shy, and even at interview they're very shy. But we recognise the talent in them and take them on. You don't have to be a performer like us. NG, would you like to say anything about your shyness? You must have shy people at your company.
That is a very, very important point, and it's the discussion we had in the recruitment team yesterday. 100%. You do not have to be an extrovert to fit in. A lot of us aren't. Some of us are, some of us aren't. So you can be an extrovert, you can be an introvert, you can be whoever you want and still fit in the industry for sure. And funnily enough, as I was saying yesterday, we were having that discussion because my role to make the workplace and the recruitment process more inclusive, and as part of that, the recruitment process and specifically the interview process have to be more inclusive. But not just inclusive to people of color or people with disability, but also inclusive to people who struggle to establish eye contact, to people who struggle to express themselves. So you are more than welcome, 100%. And the whole industry is going towards more inclusivity in its recruitment process to make it easier for you to still be an artist here without being able to maybe be comfortable or have the right social skills, because that's not important for every role.
And Michael, in games, are there shy people in games as well?
Yeah, me. Yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, I personally, you know, when I started, you know, I mean, saying, you know, at Escape, you know, we do a lot of presentations, we present our work, you know, and people are very understanding. Like, you know, you might be a bit shy and a bit quiet during a presentation, but your work is absolutely amazing. So it took me a while to get used to that. And I find that, you know, I used to struggle talking in front of people. I think if I did this a few years ago, I'd, you know, be cold out on the floor, passing out, you know, you know, you find that the more you do, the more, you know, it's easier and easier during my time at Escape, doing those constant presentations, that helped. And I find that, you know, my friends who, you know, were maybe a little anxious to start with, like me, and a little shy like me, when I did my first few interviews for games, I was stuttering and stumbling over my words, and that's part of the learning process, you know. And games industry full of people like myself who used to be really anxious, so everyone's really understanding. I found anyway. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question,
you, Max.
No, it's a really important point to make as well. Yeah, it's a very fair point, because you see us on screen, and somebody said to me recently that, oh, you're very confident and you don't get nervous at all doing these. I get extremely nervous doing sessions like today, because you have to perform, but I'm confident with it because I've done it so many times, and I've prepared, and I've put a lot of preparation into days like today, and I've got lots of information going on around me to make sure that this session goes well, and I have to juggle it all. But I understand that there are people that don't have my character, that love talking. Doesn't mean that there isn't a place for you in the workplace. And that's a really important point to remember, because it's about a lot of people talk to me, and I used to be a recruiter for degree apprenticeships, and lots of people say to me, I'm a great team player, I'm a great team player, I'm a great team player, or I'm a great leader, I'm a great leader. And at times, entry-level roles, I don't need you to be a great leader, because I'm not going to bring you onto a degree apprenticeship or an apprenticeship or an entry-level role and go, right, here's a team of 20 people, I expect you to now manage them. That doesn't happen. But then a lot of people worry about that need to be able to interact and be part of a team and always talking. You don't have to. You've got people like me that talk way too much, and I'll do the talking for you. I can do it for 3 people, even 4 if you want. And there's a very special place for those people that don't like talking a lot, but just want to get the work done, can get their head down, potentially work on their own more and get the work done. If you put me in a room on my own, I go crazy. Put me in a room with 2 other people, I'll talk the ears off of them. So I can't do that role on my own. And there's a very important place for people that can and do. Some of my friends are like that, and we're very different. And it is fair. Don't come on these sessions and just think you see people like us, that you have to be like us. That's not the way it works at all. Everybody is different. And remember that in teams, you have very different strengths and abilities that make up that team, because what you're good at should be what the other person is weak at, and what the other person is good at should be what you're weak at, so that you complement each other and think about these things. That's why we run sessions on Pathway CTM about understanding your own strengths and what is it that you are good at, and what transferable skills or what soft skills do you have that are important and you can bring to that team. You remember Jamie talked about those. Okay. There was a question in the chat box about does anybody have any recommended animating software for beginners, preferably free? And Jamie did put in the answer to try, he said, try Blender for animating because it's free, it's top quality, and there are loads of tutorials on YouTube, which is good. Somebody else has asked, how do we access the recordings? So if you're talking about the recordings in today's session, what we've done and what we've recorded in the breakout rooms, we will edit those, timestamp those, and they'll go onto the website. I would like to say by the end of the week, but it might not happen by the end of the week, but then it will be next week. But it should be by the end of the week. Those recordings will go on the website. When you go to the Pathway CTM website, on the top, you all have access to it because you've all signed up. Just go to the Watch tab, and that's the video library, and you will see all of the sessions that we do and everything that is recorded, and you will find the session in there. If you've got friends that need to see this because they'd be interested in it and can learn something, direct them that way and get them involved with it. Okay. Before we finish, I'm going to launch the last poll of the day. No, I'm not, because I can't launch the poll of the day. I think, let me just check. Neve, I know you're in. Neve, can you launch the poll for me, please?
Yeah, sure.
I have to remember my own technical abilities only go so far. Launch that closing poll for me, please, Neve. There's 2 questions in there, and let's hit it.
There we go. It's launched. You should have it on your screens.
Take us through it if you can, because as a host, I can't see it.
Okay, yeah. So the first question is, following this session, what route do you plan to take once leaving school or college? And then the second question is, following this session, how much more do you know about careers in the screen industries? So I'll wait a couple of minutes, maybe not even that long, for you to get your answers in.
Let's get those answers in so we can see whether we've done a good job today, because we've had 6 people come give up time for their day today to share information, experiences, share knowledge, share links to make sure you understand more about the industry and get you excited about it. Some of you may walk away from today's session being like, not for me, mate. I'm not interested in this anymore, and that's absolutely fine. It does what it's needed to do, because it's great to be able to walk away and know what you're not interested in, as well as knowing what you are interested in. Okay.
Yeah, I think we've got majority of people have answered. So the route you're planning to take after leaving school or college, got 53% of you still saying degree via university, which is great, and 15% of you saying degree via apprenticeship, which I think has gone up a little bit since this morning. Then we've still got a few students wanted to take a gap year, which is a great option, and 25% of you are still not sure, but that's absolutely fine because you've got time to work it out. Again, and the second question about how much more do you know about the careers in screen industries, we have got the majority, 95% of you saying I know a hell of a lot more, which is fantastic. It means everyone on this call has done a good job today. So great, thanks guys.
Thank you very much for that, Neve. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's great to have the help on. To be able to share that information and get those polls across. That 95% really shows us that we've learned a lot, and we've had a lot of information come our way today. we need to say thank you to everybody that spoke, got involved, shared links, shared slides, shared videos, shared portfolios. So that is from this morning, Saint and Neve, who was, so this got confusing in the morning. Neve, who works with Saint, who helps Saint, and then obviously my Neve, who works as part of the Pathway CTM, and we work together to deliver the session. And then we had Jamie, the first Jamie Floodgate, and then we had Jamie Stokes, and then we had Michael, which was great. And for you guys to share what you do and the stuff that you do and how you do it and how you got there was brilliant. And then in the afternoon, we had Emma, who unfortunately has had to go away from meeting, but she still gave her time, shared that information. Remember, director of talent at that agency. And then obviously we had Angie as well, and her team in the background helping her out and making sure that we could get that information. It's been brilliant to meet all of you. You can hear, you've seen from the students all the thank yous in the chat box, and that knowledge that has been shared has really taken them forward today. Thank you to all of you, because for you, giving back your time is what really makes it useful for students and inspires them to hopefully go into this industry, which is, what did we learn today about the industry? It's huge, it's massive in this country, and it's fast growing. There's so many roles and possibilities available. And like Angie said, it's not just about the creative side, it's about the other sides as well. Think about what you want to do in this industry and how you get into it. We are big players in this country, in this industry, by the looks of it, which I did not know about. And the next time I watch a TV program or Netflix or whatever, I am going to be shocked at how much of it is not real, but real is in terms of created by somebody, which blew my mind this morning. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to all the students for all the questions that you've asked and for getting involved and working on the polls. And yeah, coming along even after lunch on summer. Let's be honest, it's a summer holiday and you're here on a session. This is what puts you a step ahead. Lots of students ask me, how can I make myself stand out? What you did today makes you stand out, because there are thousands of people interested in this industry, but only you guys and girls came to today to learn, to listen, to get involved, and you can put it on your CV when you get in front of NG, or when you get in front of Emma, potentially Saint as well, and maybe even one of the Jamies as his senior role, and some of the others as they get more senior as well. This is what makes you stand out, this information and what you've done today. So well done, all of you. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you. And I'm going to stop sharing and stop the recording.